Hello.
Welcome, Salty. Good to see you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. We
Oh,
got
yeah,
more interesting news to talk about.
man. It's like the case that keeps giving.
Right. There are,
Ridiculous.
there are a handful of those, but this one, there's a mystery out there that hasn't been solved yet. I'm telling you, there's got to be.
I know it really is. I mean, you think, okay, well, maybe it's not. And then you're like, well, no, there's another body and another body. And it's seven this year alone. I
Yeah,
think it is up to now.
I think so.
Wow.
It's
That's
insane.
it really is crazy. And for them to continuously come out and say, oh, nothing to see here, natural causes or, no foul play, whatever they're classifying it as. Always no foul play, but not buying it.
Yeah, every single one of them. Uh,
Yeah.
but you had a great live last night with All Eyes on your channel. I need to drop
We,
your link in here. That was
we
amazing.
did. We did. And I appreciate everyone who came through and gave us a view and stayed for the show and watched. It's gotten a lot of views, a lot of traction, and I do appreciate that. But it was a very good live. And, you and I I always believe we have a good time co-hosting. And she brought, that little extra in there that we needed to just to talk with because we both enjoy her anyway. So I thought, why not? Let's just ask her to come on, and have that conversation. So I was really glad that she was able to get on.
I always learn something new from that case when I listen to her. Always.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. Like you
Mhm,
know, I live 25 minutes south of there and you remember the day that they announced they were missing. I remember the day they announced they were missing.
mhm.
I watched the live TV updates. So I've been following it since February 13th of 2017,
Yeah,
7.5 years plus. And I learned something new last night. She's amazing.
she
She
really
has all
is.
this.
She's a really good keeper of the records, so to speak, I mean, she's really got it going on with all of that, and so prompts to All Eyes for that, for sure. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
We need somebody like that in Austin, Texas, because I can't keep
Right?
track of all of the craziness.
Yeah, and trying to keep up with it, and, and with the past shows you've done on it, people had some really great comments about it, trying to tie different things together, and so I started to kinda work on that, and then I get sidetracked with other cases, and now I'm back on it, so I do still wanna put to just to kinda put together, like, where, when, and all the bodies were discovered, along the lake, different things, and is there anything that correlates, The only thing we have different is what 2 women out of all the most of them have all been all men. Other than that, and some of them are elderly, some of them are not, and again, they're saying that this latest one was experiencing homelessness. They're not all, even if they are just homeless people, they still matter, you
Right.
know?
Well, and there are a lot of dead bodies. Like I put in my thumbnail, the body count keeps rising along Lady Bird Lake, and
Mhm.
that's not okay.
No,
Okay.
it's not. It really isn't. And for law enforcement to come out and act like that, we shouldn't, I caught like a little bit of that press conference because I missed it the other day. And I didn't even watch the whole thing yet, but I know he's like, he just wanted to dispel the rumors and go ahead and put this out there. Nothing to see here. I'm like, "No, dude, that just makes it worse. That makes us want to look now. And it does me anyway.
And that sounds a little bit like Delphi. Like nothing to see here,
Mhm.
nothing to
Trust
see
us.
here. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Put all your trust in us. We know what we're doing, blah, blah, blah stuff, and if you knew what you were doing, you would do whatever you could to beef up security around your lake, and keep the
Just
people safe,
yeah.
and I don't know.
Dying. If you have to open up a new homeless shelter that's somewhere near the park. So they have, when I was down there, the yeah, the end of November, right? Um, a week before they found the body, before they found this one, which is nuts. They found two bodies in less than a month since I've been there.
Yeah.
And I
Isn't that
swear to
crazy?
God, I swear I have an alibi.
I'm just glad you weren't one of the ones that ended up in the lake. I darn sure thought you were at one point there. And I'm like, Joe, get out of there. Stop talking to them people. Just get the hell out of there, and like, call me when you get to your room. What a God, get out of there. But it was crazy. Even when
It
you were
is
down there, the couple of encounters you had just randomly like that with the guy who was missing the girlfriend, she was gone and
his
all
wife.
that. It was like,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, the wife. That's right. And you had seen the lady down on the dock, and when you mentioned she was down there, it was like this, it was so late at night by that time, and there was a lady down on the dock all by herself. She could have been another victim
Yep.
if she wasn't
It
careful.
absolutely could have been. Yeah. It is an unusual area because it's kind of in a semi-temperate climate. It's kind of warm in Austin, Texas, but it does also get cold at night. It does also get down in the 40s, and it probably actually freezes there because it was getting down in the 40s when I was there. So
I don't, yeah,
homelessness is an
yeah.
issue. Homelessness
Well,
is
yeah,
an issue.
but not all of these victims have been homeless people or
Right.
experiencing homelessness,
There's
as they want to call it.
no, there's no way. No, they're not. Absolutely not.
Well, we've read
And
through
the
some of the,
survivors, especially, we know the
yeah,
survivor stories.
right. We saw those. I was about to say the same thing. The stories that we have seen, we know they're not all homeless people. So they can't say this is just all homeless people experiencing homelessness, random acts, falling into the water, and things like that. I mean, come on. I mean, usually a grown up, if they slip and fall into the water, they got a pretty good chance of climbing back out. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
unless they're
there
knocked out.
are
You know what I
areas
mean?
there. Yeah, there are steep areas along that bank, and there are areas that are hard to see, but
Mm-hmm.
that can't explain 24, 25, 26 deaths in the last 3 years. That is, it can't be either homeless or drunk, wandering in and
Yeah.
accidentally drowning. They cannot all be that. There is no way. It defies common sense.
Hey, Andy, welcome in. Hey, Kelt, Hammy, thank you guys for all coming in. Beach Bum is back. Awesome. Yeah, it's crazy that this continues and they just want to come out and tell us the same damn thing. Reading from their little notepad in their hand, no foul play
Honestly,
involved, people.
I don't even think they're reading from a notepad. So I want to go back and I actually want to look at the press conference that was for the body that was found exactly a week after I was there. And
Yeah.
they had a lady who was their public relations gal who held that press conference. So I want to see that. It's only like 4 or 5 minutes long. But then I want to look at the one that they held yesterday, and I want to compare and contrast the two and say what things are
Okay.
similar and what things are different. But I was not impressed with the guy that gave the one yesterday at all.
Now, can I ask a question? It's totally unrelated to true crime, everybody, but I just got to ask. When we ended my live last night, I came to the back door. I looked out the window. I don't even know why I looked out. It's a habit I do because I was going to go outside, but I looked out first and I caught a glimpse of something in the sky. When I looked up, I was like, holy shit. It was like, it wasn't a shooting star. And I don't think it was a meteorite, but there was something beautiful streaking across the sky. And then today I see a lot of news reports of that same thing. And they were saying like it was space junk re-entering the atmosphere or a satellite. I was just curious if anybody else saw that. It was amazing. I live in the country, so it's super dark. Stars were everywhere. There's no light pollution going on. And it was just an amazing, and I watched it go all the way across the sky till it faded out of my sight. Like it never hit the ground. It was crazy. I just didn't
And
know
it
if
wasn't
anybody
like
else
a
had saw
drone.
that.
It
It
wasn't a
was not a
drone.
drone. I was making sure. It was not. It was a ball of, it looked like a ball of fire, and it had the big trail coming behind it. You could just see the sparks trailing behind it. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I didn't have my phone. My phone was in the bedroom. And I thought, if I'm going to go get my phone and come back, what if it's gone? So I just watched in amazement as it flew across the sky. I mean, I've seen tons of shooting stars, and you can see satellites in orbit if you sit outside long enough. If you're in the country where it's super dark, you can look up and you can see them and you can watch them go across the sky, the satellites. What I saw last night was none of that. It was like my first thought was meteorite, but I don't
Right,
know if it was a
a
meteor
shooting
or a
star.
satellite. It wasn't a shooting star. It wasn't even close to that because of the big fiery trail that was behind it. It was huge compared to a shooting star. And I've seen so many of those, and I see how they, just go down. This thing was like getting it across the sky. It was
Yeah.
going on for a long time. I don't know.
It wasn't the second coming.
No,
We
no,
didn't get raptured up.
no, nothing happened. It was just like this beautiful fire thing flying across my sky, and I'm like,
That
oh,
is awesome.
okay.
What an
It was
amazing
pretty cool.
sight. Yeah,
It was
that
pretty
is
cool. Yeah, I just didn't know if anybody else in here had seen that or not.
A couple of years ago, I went to the Grand Canyon with my son and daughter-in-law, and we camped in one of those little tiny home type of things that are on their own little campsite south of the Grand Canyon. It wasn't in the Grand Canyon. We had to drive another like half hour to get there. But at night, there was so little light pollution from artificial sources on the earth that the sky was just freaking amazing. Like,
isn't it gorgeous when it's like that? Yeah. But there was a lot of news. I saw it on Facebook actually when I went. I mentioned to my son because they were in bed when I saw it, my son and grandson, and so I told him about it this morning. He's like, "Oh, there's some talk about that on Facebook, Mom." So I went and looked, and there people had footage of it. And I was like, "That's exactly what I saw last night." So it's crazy.
Wow, it's cool that people got footage of it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have if I had had my phone in my hand, but like I usually would have it on me, but I didn't have it on me. It was all the way in the room. I thought, I'm not going back there to get my phone and take a chance on missing whatever that is flying across the sky. So anyway.
Very cool.
Very cool. So yeah, you've got some stuff we're going to review.
Yep. Let's take a look at this is the press conference from, it's on Facebook, which is really weird. I didn't find it on the local news media, which I did for the one yesterday, but this is December 1st. So this is exactly a week after I was at Lady Bird Lake, and they found a body very close to where I had been that day and that night.
And I think the link I sent you earlier was of the latest press conference. It wasn't a press conference. It was just a statement. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
all right.
I have the latest press conference too. I have that guy. But I want to see this first, and I want to review it because words matter. So I sent this to Jack Fox of Never a Truer Word, and he reviewed it, and he had some comments on it. It wasn't like interesting enough to him to like do a live on, which I completely understand. But Doug Carter was, and if you haven't seen that, go and look at that because that was an amazing live when he came.
It was, and we found last night a lot of the commenters were commenting about that live, and they enjoyed it as well. So it was a really good show.
All right, here we go with this one that was December 1st after they found a body a week after I was there.
Ready? Right. Good morning. I'm Officer Leah Ratliff with the Austin Police Department Public Information Office. This morning at approximately 8:16 a.m., officers responded to a check wall for urgent here in the area around Zone 3 of Lady Bird Lake. A 911 call was received from a kayaker who is paddling upstream and observed some type of object in the water. On closer approach, it appeared to be a deceased person. The Austin Fire Department and the Austin Homicide detectives responded, and the fire department was able to retrieve the deceased person from the water. Based on appearance, it looks like a person who was experiencing homelessness. The person also appeared to be an unknown race, female. It appeared that the person was possibly trying to stay warm. At this time, there is nothing that appears to be suspicious to detectives, and this is being investigated as a deceased person.
So she is looking at her notepad a lot. So she did write down. Yeah. I got that wrong. She did write down a lot of this information.
Well, because a couple of the other press conferences, or whatever they're calling these briefs, news briefs, I guess, I noticed a couple of them were doing that, reading from their little notepad. The guy that I reviewed this earlier, I don't think he had one in his hand. But the things that she says don't make any sense. unknown race, appears to have been trying to be, would be keeping warm. How do you know that? Was there a fire next to the water that you thought what made you think they were just trying to stay warm and fell in the water? And you going to base it on their looks that they were experiencing homelessness? I mean,
Right.
that's kind of rude, but
yeah. Well, what's interesting to me is she doesn't give the next presser. Like it's weeks. It's within weeks of this, and there's some other guy that is standing in front of the press giving his or his brief or whatever, his media brief or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah,
it's interesting that
I think she's done more than one actually. Because I remember her from one of the other ones, I believe. I might be mistaken, but I thought she'd done more than one. So I don't know if they have like a go-to person. A lot of police departments have their media person that goes out, or a spokesperson that goes out and does these things. So I don't know why they would change it up unless she wasn't on duty and at the time. Different things could have come into play, but they just make a lot of really fast determinations on an investigation that just happened. They just found this body. They give the presser a little bit later, like an hour or two later, and they've already determined, what it was all about. How do you know that stuff so fast?
It was accidental, no foul play suspected. She was experiencing homelessness. She was trying to stay warm, and she drowned in a lake trying to stay warm.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in this lake and try to warm myself up. Well, no. Good Lord.
So it's possible that so I'm just going to say this disclaimer. It's possible that there are things that we don't know that were the cause of some of these deaths.
True.
Like maybe she did fall in the water and maybe she drowned and she fell in the water somehow because she was trying to stay warm, which doesn't make sense, but maybe there are things we don't know. But there are 26 deaths in the last 3 years, and you can't say that about every single one. You can't.
And how can you determine someone's trying to stay warm by being close to the water?
Right.
I could buy it if they had seen signs of a recent small fire that was there trying to burn something to stay warm. Then I would get, okay, that makes sense. But just to say that without any,
but then how do you end up in the water? How do you end up in the water trying to make a fire on the bank?
Right. If you slip and fall, I guess you could, but then we go back to quit making your lake so dangerous. If it's that dangerous that you could easily slip and fall in and drown and be the next victim, I think if I was a resident of Austin, I would be screaming about, let's beef up the lake. Let's do something to make it safer. So people stop randomly falling in.
Let's have more information from the police. This is why this one rings true with me and why it drew my interest, because let's have some information from the police that give us confidence that they're doing a good job investigating and they're trying to keep the residents of their city safe. But in Delphi, I don't have any confidence that ISP and Carroll County were doing their job. FBI, yes. And I think that's why something happened in 2019 where the FBI was told, hit the road. We don't need your help in this anymore. We may call you. And if we call you, then you better be there. But otherwise, we got it. I mean, but this feels that same way to me. And I'm not saying there's a serial killer out there. I don't know. But I'm saying the public doesn't have confidence that the police are doing their job. The lady that I interviewed that night said, maybe someday we'll know, which is the exact same as we told each other for Libby and Abby for years. Maybe someday we'll know. And there are people that believe we still don't know.
It's just really aggravating when law enforcement doesn't want to give more details. And I get keeping it close to the vest, all the things and investigation, but this is not, they're not even investigating this stuff. They're just coming right out of the gate saying no foul play. They fell in the water.
Within hours of pulling this lady out of the lake, they're like, no foul play. She was just trying to stay warm. She was a homeless person just trying to stay warm. Nothing to see her move along.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
All right, let's keep listening.
And I'll take any questions.
So just to be clear, is there any connection with the other bodies that have been found in and around Lady Bird Lake over the last few years?
So I just talked to the homicide detectives who were on scene. There's nothing that appears to be suspicious. There's no type of connection that they believe based off of today.
And you mentioned maybe trying to.
I'll say it again. I said it last time we watched this. There's no connection to the dead body we just pulled out of the lake, except it's another dead body we just pulled out of the lake.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Trying to stay warm. What led you to believe that?
Just from the detective's observation of the deceased person when she was found.
Like in terms of like what she was wearing.
I can't tell you exactly what the detective said. This is what he told to me, but I would assume it would be based off of like clothing, positioning, things like that.
Do you see that more often as the temperatures drop around this time of year?
To see like deceased people.
Yeah,
More-
related to maybe trying to stay warm or anything along those lines.
I don't know if we see like an increase in deceased people, but I do think that the changes in weather do make a difference, right? And makes people probably want to do things to find shelter.
Can you explain what that call means?
So she just admitted that Austin has a homeless problem with people trying to stay warm in wintertime.
Well,
So,
she doesn't think the body counts increased, which is wrong. It has. And you were there, and we saw the locations where there used to be that one homeless, well, not a camp, but where the tents were set up before and they weren't there when you went, where you saw the one guy walking in toward the woods. There are places away from the water that they could huddle up in to stay warm and to stay out of the wind and things like that. So I get it. You want to get out of the wind. You want to find shelter. How much shelter are you going to find around that lake? Away from the lake, yes, there's those little patches of woods all around. And even if you do go down toward the water and try to huddle into a spot there, you don't have to get super close to the water to do that. There are a lot of locations up and down. But then again, if you've got that many people up and down that area, that place is very busy in the daytime. A lot of the locals use the lake and use the path and take advantage of it. So it doesn't make any sense to me that they went down to the water to try to stay warm. When there
No.
was, and not far from there is another large area where there is a large homeless population. You would think they could go there and seek shelter of some sort versus going all the way down to the water where it's risky, where you might slip and fall in. I just can't wrap my head around it.
no, there's a large park area behind that hotel. She said it was in zone 3, and
Mhm.
I'll probably pull that up in Google Maps when we're done with this, just briefly, just to show you where zone 3 is. But there's a large park area there, and you don't need to get anywhere near the water's edge for shelter. And in fact, you're probably going to find better shelter further away from the water's edge.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make logical sense to go all the way down to the water. And like she said, she didn't see the body. She's passing along information, but she assumes from the position of the body they were trying to stay warm, and they assume from the clothing they're a homeless person. I mean, what position was this body in? The fetal, curled up? So I'm trying to stay. I mean, come on, don't make it make sense. Make us understand why you think that person was trying to stay warm down at the water's edge like that.
Yeah, and I don't think she can. And
I don't think she can either.
No, and she's telling us what the detective told her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a tough spot to be, because she has a job to do, and she has a
Right.
narrative. She has a narrative to put out, and she has certain details she has to protect. And I get all of that, but you also have a job to do to give the public confidence that you guys are doing your job, and you know what you're doing, and you're doing a good job. And here we are 3 weeks after that, and here we have another body that's quote unquote no foul play suspected. All right, let's finish watching this. We're almost halfway through. Maybe I'll speed it
A
up.
check well for urgent. So it's just the priority of the call. So it's a high priority call based on what we got from the caller. We want to get officers out there sooner rather than later, just to see if there's any type of preservation of life that we can do on our end.
What kinds of road usage involved in this?
Not that we are aware of.
What is zone 3?
So zone 3 is actually, and it's kind of hard because of the lake is at different block ranges. So zone 3 is probably kind of around this area. So we're kind of at Brazos area, Brazos Street.
Surveillance cameras or anything around here that you're checking?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah.
She drowned, or the body was already present somewhere else.
Well, so the body was already inside of the water when the caller saw it and when detectives and the fire department made contact. So I can't tell you beyond that. So I'm not, but the medical examiner's office will be involved as well. So.
For the witness who found the body and how they're doing, I imagine something we have to see.
I mean, I can imagine that could be something like unexpected. I don't know. I didn't talk to the witness specifically. By the time I got on scene, the witness was no longer on scene.
About what happens next in the investigation.
It's kind of up to the detective. So they get a lot of information in their initial investigation, those observations, and kind of from there, kind of depends on each case specifically. But there are detectives assigned to it, and so they're actively aware of everything going on.
So here's another note. How about holding a press, even if you don't want to call it a press conference, a briefing or whatever, how about having us able to hear the reporter's questions? Because I'm straining to hear the questions and I can kind of assume what most of them are based on the responses. But I mean, Austin's a big city in Texas. You can do a better press conference or brief or whatever you want to call it than this.
You would think they might hold a larger press conference to discuss all of the bodies that have been discovered down there. If they wanted to put the community's mind at rest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They could do that and show some evidence that proves what they're saying, but they're not doing that.
Nope. They're just saying nothing to see here. No foul play suspected, accidental drowning, move along.
Well, you got a dangerous area that I would never venture off to.
I did.
Yeah, no signs of violence. There's no threat to the public as a result of this.
I was there with you on the phone, didn't like it.
I would not be, I mean, I'm not sure. I can't tell you specifically. But that information will be available to the Public Information Office. So I do encourage you to contact the Public Information Office. They can tell you specifics. I can tell you that today the deceased person is a female.
Do you have an age on her?
Approximately 60s.
Can you go next to Ken?
No, not that I'm aware of, but that's a part of the investigation. So as far as if they were to get identification and contact next to Ken would be the detectives.
Can you release that information or back to the next?
If that is released, it would be released.
All right. That's about all helpful that we can get from that. So let's watch the new one and just keep that one in mind that we just watched while we watched the new press conference.
Okay.
Good grief. Present screen. There we go. This guy, here's a new guy. And he says some things. So just warning ahead of time, I'm going to be pausing again because he says some things that are really curious to me. Oh, we need audio.
Death that occurred
Let's go back
today. First of all, we're here to talk about a death that occurred on or around Lady Bird Lake. There's a couple things that go along with that. As a parent, as a family member, as a spouse, I can't really understand the gravity of losing a family member. So.
Okay, I can't understand the gravity of losing a family member. Why on earth does he feel the need to say that? And how is that even true? You haven't lost a grandparent.
I was about to say. Thank you.
I
don't know why he can't. Lucky him if he's never lost a loved one, right?
Yeah, no kidding. He's like 1 out of 5 billion on the planet that haven't.
Right.
But why would you feel the need to say that? First of all, it's not true. But if he means, and maybe he means, okay, in a tragic premature death situation, like maybe all of his grandparents died of old age that are dead, and maybe some of them are still alive. But I mean, why would you feel the need to say that as the opener to your press briefing?
He's trying to establish that we understand your frustration and you've lost your loved one, but still no foul play. Move on.
Right. It's kind of like a read technique thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like trying to establish rapport with us.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. Like, this guy's awkward. Why is the Austin Police Department sending him out there to say what he's saying? I don't know.
So, of course, we want to acknowledge that piece of it. As part of the investigation and the process, the family will be notified. The family has not been notified yet. So we want to respect their wishes, and we'll have to understand that we won't be able to release as much information about the decedent as we would like as a result of that wishes of the family, or until the family's notified.
Okay, so there's another point. They believe that there's next of kin to be notified, which does not bespeak of homelessness to me, because the homeless victims that have been found have not been able to identify them and or identify their next of kin in a couple of cases. Not every case, but a couple of cases. They're like,
Right.
we don't even know who this is, and we don't know who their next of kin is. So
Well, he almost was going to say, we're not going to release information out of respect for the family, but then turns around and says, oh, well, we haven't notified the family yet.
right.
They don't,
Yep.
you know, so which is it, guy? You're already playing word salad out of the gate. And I'm a little sick of word salad. I've had enough salad for 2 years. Got to make some special dressing.
It looks like it's not going to end on January 13th. I mean, that part of it will, that end of it will. We won't hear any more word salad from there after January 13th, but there are other police departments that just try. It feels like they're trying too hard to not tell us stuff and to
They
not
all
keep
went to
the
this.
public informed.
They went to the same school that Carter went to
Yeah,
learn how to publicly speak.
if you guys don't know, the January 13th reference I made is to Doug Carter's retirement date. He's supposed to retire on January 13th.
And if you don't know who Doug Carter is, he's the lead cop at Indiana State Police, Delphi case, though.
Yeah, he's the superintendent of Indiana State Police. And
There you go, superintendent.
yeah, one of the videos we did together was "What's Good for the Goose," because he told us in that TV interview that internet sleuths were not allowed to post side-by-side photos of Bridge Guy with real suspects, and then they went and did the exact same thing with Richard Allen.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
literally
Doug's
in
not
that.
the boss of me. Let me just go ahead and put that out there. If I'm not breaking the law, I'm gonna put whatever I want together and make it go together with my magic hands.
Yep.
You're not the boss of me, Doug Carter.
Anyway, this guy's getting some word salad going too.
We need therapy now that we've all been exposed to Doug Carter. Damn it, we need therapy.
We have ISP PTSD.
Oh my God. Joe. We got to share that with some of our other community members.
Right. ISP PTSD.
Is we want to acknowledge as the Austin Police Department that we certainly understand people will speculate quite a bit when there is a death in or around Lady Bird Lake, right? So I want to provide as many answers as I can.
That's exactly what they said about Abby and Libby. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
They have a
People wanna
standard line of
speculate.
bullshit they come out with. I'm telling you, it was so obvious over the years of watching Doug Carter, and you see other agencies come out and do the same thing. Even in Sebastian Rogers' case, when they first come out and speak, it's just the way they come out and speak about things leaves me more questions than answers. And it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be. I mean, okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna keep going because I could go down that rabbit hole a long, long ways.
I know. I was like,
as I can right now, so that we don't have to speculate. Our homicide unit will follow up with any additional information at a later time, but we'll provide what little information we can provide today.
Trust us, bro. Just trust us. We got this. Am I going to get like notices if I swear on here, because I really want to swear right now?
no, you're not no. If you go review YouTube stuff, as long as you don't cuss the first few minutes, 10 minutes of your show, you're pretty good. Then after that, you know me, I cuss anyway. I'm not
This is
monetized.
fucking bullshit.
Karen.
This is fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, but
There you go.
standing up in front of people and saying, "Trust us, bro, we got this," is bullshit. You need to provide us with details. You need to provide us with answers. You need to provide us with scientific, forensic evidence to answer our questions, not just standing up in front of TV cameras and saying, trust us, bro. That, no.
So along those lines, today at about 10:51 a.m. on the other shore of Lady Bird Lake, so on the north shore of Lady Bird Lake, some citizens observed a older white or Hispanic male in the water of Lady Bird Lake. They called in to 911. Police, fire, and EMS were dispatched to that location to investigate that incident and to provide aid. Unfortunately, when they arrived, the subject was deceased and was pronounced deceased at about 11:13 a.m. Part of the process in investigating this incident, our Lake Unit, police, fire, EMS came out. Our George officers, or downtown officers, came out to investigate.
So it's another male. So we're up to like 26 in the last 3 years, and only 2 of them are female, right? Do I have that
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth just joined, and Bobcat's here. So Elizabeth's wanting to know, watching from Scotland, can someone explain what's happening? I just joined. Want to give a brief there, Joe?
Okay, so Lady Bird Lake is a recreational lake in downtown Austin, and it's the Colorado River was dammed up just downstream of downtown Austin way back in like the 50s or 60s by the Army Corps of Engineers. And originally it was called Town Lake, and then sometime in the late 20th century they renamed it Lady Bird Lake, and Lady Bird was the first lady for Lyndon Johnson, President Lyndon Johnson. So they decided to name it after her. So that's irrelevant to all of this. So there have been like 3 or 4 bodies found around the lake since 2008, going up to about 2020. But in the last 3 years, we're now up to like 26 bodies found around the lake.
7 this year alone.
Yes. And every single one of them, the police have determined to be either no foul play or accidental drowning or cause undetermined. Not a single one of them has been determined by the Austin Police Department to be a homicide. Not a single one. 24 in the last 3 years, or 26 now in the last 3 years.
Right. And there have been a couple that actually survived. What they don't know what happened to them. They wake up down there, or they are discovered down there. One was beaten pretty badly. And there was another individual who was found, who was bound and all those things, you know. They're saying the rest of them weren't like that. They just fell into the water. They're accidental drownings. They're classifying them all as accidental drownings. So we've been looking into all the cases, and Joe went down there, boots on the ground, and visited the city, and went down to the lake. And when he was down there, he literally had 2 strange experiences down there. One with somebody who approached him that their wife was missing, and we're like, what? This can't be happening. And then since Joe's come back, what, 2 more bodies, Joe?
Yeah. One a week after I was there, and then one yesterday was found yesterday.
Yeah.
They seem to be found on the weekends. That's a little odd to me. We definitely need to plot the timeline.
We do.
Yeah. We need to dig deeper into this.
Yeah. We do.
But to have the Austin PD just standing up there and giving that line that reminds me so much of Doug Carter, it pisses me off. I'm sorry, but it's y'all got to do better. And I know there are really good police departments out there that do their job, and they are very responsible in their pressers, in their press conferences or their media briefings, and getting information out to the public. This ain't it. Austin PD ain't it.
It's like if there is something nefarious going on, they don't want to put that out there. Like, okay, I understand if you don't want to alarm your community, but at the same time, if you've got all this going on, you need to bring awareness to your community to be safe, to do all the things, know your surroundings, educate them on how to avoid being the next victim. But they're just acting like, oh, they just fell in. You guys stay off the edge of the lake. Like, no,
no, not even that. That
mm-mm.
night that I was there was a woman sitting alone on the dock. She was not being smart. She was not protecting herself. I didn't interact with her at all. I didn't even see her till I was out on the end of the dock, and I looked off to my right, and I'm like, oh, there's somebody else out here. So I turned around and I left, because maybe they were having a peaceful moment on the lake. Maybe they're just like, I need to take a break on the lake and recatch my zen, whatever it is. Have your zen moment. I'm not going to interrupt it. But in retrospect, she was in danger. She literally was
Very
in
much
danger
so.
for her life.
And we weren't even sure if that was the lady, the wife to the man who lost his wife or was looking for his wife, And
Yeah.
so we just don't know. But yeah, when Joe said that, he's like, man, there's somebody else out here. And I'm thinking, well, because it was like 11:30 Central Time by then. It was late, and I'm like, what is she doing out there all alone in the dark? And Joe was as floored by that as I was. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah. And then to see the homeless guy walking along the Holiday Inn to that place under the trees was also interesting.
All right, Kelt.
I
Have a good. I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to interrupt. Kelt's got to
No, no.
go. So you go ahead, Kelt. And if I don't see you before the holidays, Merry Christmas.
Hey, Kel, have a good night. Be safe. So in retrospect, so I'm still developing my investigator skills and my interview skills. And in retrospect, honestly, I think I should have gone and interviewed that homeless guy. I think I should have approached him and been like, hey, dude, where are you coming from? Where are you going? Not like in a police investigation type of way, but
Right.
just like, hey, what's up in your life? What's going on in your life? What do you think
What's got
about?
you here? And what do you
Yeah.
think about this? And what do you do? Do you think
Yes.
about it when you're around the lake at night and things like that? I get that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So next time, and I've got a body cam next time. I'll be wearing a body cam next time, and I'll get those encounters recorded.
And you might need to take a security team with you next time. Shit. Me on the phone don't cut it. I'm like, do I need to call 911 right now? Are they going to do anything? They're going to come out tomorrow and say, oh, your friend just fell in the water. No big deal.
That's right. Accidental drowning. Here we have another accidental drowning.
I promise y'all it wasn't accidental. I was on the phone with him. Wow.
All right. Where did that video go? I need to start that video. All right. Starting up this press conference again with this guy that just gives me, I'm not going to say he gives me Doug Carter vibes, because he's just younger than that, and he's not as polished as Doug Carter is. Doug Carter is super polished, which is why that interview with Jack was just amazing, because he sliced right through his words. But this guy is just trying to deflect people speculating about what's going on around the lake, but it's not going to work. You can't. The people are going to keep speculating because you keep finding bodies.
Yeah.
26 in 3 years is going to cause speculation, and you having a little press conference isn't going to stop it.
They're fully aware that social media is onto this, that we not just us, because like I told you when we first started talking about these cases, I had followed a Twitter account for nearly a year who was posting all about this stuff. So we weren't the first ones on it. We're not going to be the last ones, but social media sleuthers, I guess you can call us. We are like, wait, what's going on here? And
supposedly it's getting more attention. Supposedly the Lady Bird Lake killings are getting more attention, and I'm not going to claim having any part of that, but maybe I'm a trendsetter. Maybe
so. Hell.
Let's see who else goes out there and takes a midnight stroll along the north bank of Lady Bird Lake.
Not me.
Okay. Oh
Lady
no,
Bird
did I go
Lake.
backwards? I went
Police,
backwards.
fire, EMS came out. Our George officers, our downtown officers came out to investigate that. There are also our medical examiner, our crime scene unit are here, as well as the homicide unit. Looking for any signs of injury or foul play. At this time, there's no signs of trauma or other things that would lead us to believe this is any type of homicide or murder. But that those answers will be provided as the investigation goes on. So as part of that, they're examining the medical examiner's office and the homicide unit are inspecting the body for signs of any type of injury. They'll also investigate the circumstances surrounding.
Wait, he just said we didn't see any evidence of foul play. Not in so many words. Hold on. The dog's being stupid. Hold on.
It's okay. Most of us have dogs.
But then he said we still have to investigate. The medical examiner still has to investigate the body. So which is it? Like, you cannot make a determination of no foul play
You
if
can't.
the medical examiner has not examined the body yet.
Nope. They're coming out hot, trying to create a narrative, in my opinion, so that people don't ask questions. Are they trying to hide the fact that there is something really bad going on there and they just don't know what to do about it? Or they have no leads, or they can't, are they not finding any evidence on these bodies? Are they looking for hairs and all the things we know they should be looking for, like DNA, anything that come off of these people? If they have a coat on, is there foreign hairs that don't belong to the victim? If not, start there. I don't know, but there's a lot they could be doing.
I have no faith that they're investigating this as fully as they should be.
Exactly.
If you
I feel the same way.
If you were going to commit the perfect murder or series of murders, serial murders, and you wanted to pick out the homeless population, the police are going to tell you exactly what the Austin PD are telling us and have been telling us for years. Nothing to see here, move along, accidental causes, no foul play suspected. But there are ways that you could commit those without it looking like a violent crime.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, are they doing tox screens on the blood? Are they doing blood work? Are they looking for needle marks? Are they looking for things that could be non-violent causes of death? I don't think so.
Even like the suggestion that was somebody at one of the bars putting stuff into drinks, and that all of that could be at play as well. That now they're suddenly coming out saying they appear to be experiencing homelessness. So that, is that a cover up to say, oh, they weren't at the bars drinking, and so there's nothing going on down there? Because it could be damaging to the bar scene down there if word gets out that somebody's down there spiking drinks. You know what I mean? But at this point, who cares? If it's dangerous, it's dangerous.
Right. And well, the fact that it's mostly men, like 90% of the victims are men, and there are rumors that it's maybe tied to the LGBTQ community, and maybe it's happening in a bar or a nightclub that is known to be frequented by LGBTQ.
But only one of the victims so far that I've seen fits that description.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't. You've gone into it deeper than I have to know that. Yeah, but that did come up in social media. Like, the local community wants to know. They want to know.
Yeah.
So why can't the police department just come out and say, hey?
Well, a lot of serial killers have their motives are all different. The way they go about their killings are all different. But normally it's not just to kill. There's something, like a sexual motivation involved with it. Some will do it just to kill. It could be a female serial killer who doesn't like men. It could be that angle. You could go a million different ways with it. But it's worth investigating, because I don't care if they're homeless or not, experiencing homeless for the moment or not, they matter. Just like all the women that Rex Heuermann was going out and killing just because they were sex workers doesn't mean they did not matter. They damn well did.
Yeah, they did.
You know, you're not out just because you're experiencing homelessness. So that makes you so vulnerable to crime that you got what you deserved, kind of thing. I mean, get real.
Yeah. Well, we kind of have two sides of the coin right here, because I will say that I know more about Luigi than I do about and his killing of the CEO of the healthcare executive than I do about whatever's going on in Austin around Lady Bird Lake.
Yeah.
And that's because the police went out and they held their press conferences and they say, we have this evidence, we have A, B, C, D, and we've found that this matches this, and we found him this with this. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because they're almost already putting the defendant on trial by exposing that to the public. They're tainting the jury pool.
Yeah.
All of that information in press conferences. And it kind of made me curious as to why are they doing that? Why are they coming out and holding these really forward press conferences with details about the evidence that they found when this guy hasn't even been arraigned yet?
Yeah.
So it's kind of two sides of the same coin, because I'm not sure that I want that going on, but I definitely want more than what's going on here in Austin.
Yeah. There's always a balance, but they have no suspects over here in Austin that they are talking about anyway, because there's nothing happened. It was all accidental stuff. So there is no suspect to be looking at in their mind.
Right.
I'm not so sure about that,
Yeah, right. That's a really good point. Like I would love to be able to see the medical examiner's reports, the coroner's reports, or whatever they call them in Austin. Maybe we need to start filing some FOIAs on that stuff.
Maybe we should, and I'm not so sure, because of the fact that they are turning up right there in the lake and along the, some of them, a lot of them are in the same area, and I saw the condominiums down there. There's apartment complexes around there. Does somebody live right there that could be responsible for these type of things, close to home kind of thing?
Right. Or is it another homeless person?
Right. It could be. You never know, and are they choosing to seek out people that they think no one's going to care about, like Rex Horman was doing? He could have easily snatched girls off the street, probably would have got caught a lot quicker, but he did it in a way where he could just go and call them and, hey, you want to, come exchange favors? And then he's got his victim right then and there. There's all kinds of ways these guys go and get their victims. Look at Ted Bundy. He would, go into the dorms and get his, there's just all kinds of ways. So what makes whoever, if this is a serial killer, what's driving them to do this?
Right.
I don't know.
Rex had his basement. He had his little workshop in his basement, and Stephen Stearns had his upper floor room.
Damn. Yep.
And Jen turned a blind eye to it, and Rex Heuermann's wife turned a blind eye to it. She said, I never went down there, which does not strike me as either true or reasonable either way. If she's stating the truth that she never went down to the basement of their house, then I'm like, okay, you were definitely turning a blind eye to something that you knew was going on.
Oh, definitely.
The same with Jen Soto.
My ass is going in that basement the minute he leaves for work, and I'm going to see what's going on down there, because I might need to get going before he gets home.
So if there's somebody like that in this case, if there is a serial killer that's just leaving the bodies in the lake and around the lake, somebody else knows something. They have to.
I wonder if there is somebody working on it, like in the profiling department, like maybe FBI or something, that I don't know if they would just look into it willy-nilly without being asked to, from how we hear how they work. But as a profiler, if I was a profiler, I'd be all over this. I'd be asking those cops all kinds of questions about these victims. Victimology matters to help get you there to find your perpetrator sometimes. But they're now wanting to come out and claim all the latest victims were experiencing homelessness. But I'm just not buying it, because they're not showing any proof of that. And they're coming out too quick to claim that.
Like same day. Like within hours
Yeah.
of finding a body, they're like, nothing to see here, move along. There's no suspicious activity, no foul circumstances suspected, no foul play. Like it's just another homeless person. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I worry about
It,
homeless people. I worry about homeless people. I don't want
I do
homeless
too.
people dying and
Yeah.
being left in a lake in Austin, Texas, or anywhere.
They don't
So
deserve it. Jeez.
it,
And
even
yeah,
if they, and I'm not going to say even if they do, that's a stupid comment, but nobody
well, I
deserves
understand what you
that.
meant.
Nobody
Right.
deserves that. But homeless people, if they're quote unquote experiencing homelessness, which have been the last two press conferences, they're experiencing homelessness, they deserve to live and to have a life and to try and find a way out of that horrible situation. And we need to try and help them, not
Exactly.
write them off because they're homeless and say, oh, there's another homeless person that was
Just trying to
found in
stay
the lake.
warm. Yeah. You can tell by their old clothes and how they're dressed. And it's like, no, that's
Oh,
so wrong.
it
Not
is.
everybody is homeless that may look homeless. I don't admit that come out right, but you know what I mean? Not everybody's going to
Yeah.
wear the most expensive threads they can go out and buy. They might just have their normal clothes on, and this jackass might think, oh, that's a homeless person because they don't have the fine clothes that I have, which is ridiculous in my opinion.
It is. There are two ladies that I have known in my life that I respect very much that were very, very well educated, and they loved to wear vintage clothes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you honestly could mistake them for a homeless person
Hmm.
in a certain environment.
Oh, there are a lot of
So
people out there like that. Honestly, there's a lot, and I know what you mean. And so they're basing this on just their clothing makes them appear homeless. I mean, because did they have like a buggy with all their stuff stashed in it right there by the lake? What made you determine they were homeless? Or experiencing homelessness now, how they're wording it. Um, and a young black economist, cops are so poorly trained. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. There are some really good departments out here with a lot of thorough training, and we see it all the time. It kind of goes unnoticed sometimes, but there's just as many bad departments out there that botch investigations from the beginning, and then they want to cover up the fact that they did so, with word salad type stuff. So, yeah, I don't know if it's a lack of training here in Austin or if it's a lack of transparency. They just don't want people to know there could be something really bad going on here. It would damage our reputation for the city and blah, 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 all that.
yeah, what would make the most sense to me would be like, we don't know what the F is going on. So we're
Yeah.
just going to go try and cover it up and tell people to look the other way. That's what makes the most sense to me. I don't know anybody in the Austin PD, and I don't know really any other cases that the Austin PD has tried to solve. But I mean, there have been a couple survivors, and Austin PD hasn't done anything to help those survivors find justice for what they went through. I mean, you had the dude who was slit like from his collarbone down to his navel and had to have stitches up, and you had another dude that was like beat within an inch of his life that were found on more or less on the banks of Lady Bird Lake, and nobody knows who, what, when, where, why, which is what a police department should be figuring out: who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to finish this press conference because I'm tired of looking at this guy's mug.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Surrounding how that person ended up there at that date and time, and provide and understand those things as the investigation goes on. We also want to acknowledge that the public is instrumental in cases like this. So everything from citizens that call 911 to people that can provide any information, if there was something to be suspicious or concerning, or we do depend on the public to provide us that information. So we will provide the homicide tip line 512-974. TIPS is the homicide line, or you can always call Crime Stoppers 512.
Wait, he just gave out the number for the homicide tip line after telling us that there's nothing suspicious with this death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What the?
He's tripping up
Wow.
himself, man. They don't know what to say. I don't know.
Why would you give a homicide tip line if you didn't suspect foul play?
Yeah, no
Dude.
homicide, so why give that out? Or,
Oh my gosh. I think
I
Jack would have a field day with this guy. I
I
mean,
just wouldn't have if I lived there, I just wouldn't have enough confidence to even go down near the lake at all.
yeah, I would, but it would be to investigate. It would be to figure things out. And I shouldn't have to feel that way. Like I should feel like the police are down there investigating this and they've got boots on the ground. But I put my own boots on the ground as a freaking nobody YouTube channel with less than 500 subscribers. I was down there with boots on the ground because the cops won't. Like I did not see a single police officer. I walked up and down Rainy Street twice. I walked up and down that stretch of the north bank of Lady Bird Lake twice, and I did not see a single police officer ever that entire time, that entire night.
Yeah.
Like the mayor wants to say, oh, we put out cameras, we put out lights, but I didn't see any cameras either. I did see a few lights, and I did see some new sidewalk that gets you down to the lake, but
Yeah.
we're not supposed to have sidewalk to the lake if people are ending up in the lake. What are you doing, guys? Good grief. Make
Yeah,
it make
it didn't look like it was very safe down there to me when you were down there walking around.
you think it was, except for when you're within like a 30-foot radius of those streetlights, it's not. It's dark. It's hard to see where the edge of the water is. It's hard to see if there's somebody hiding or lurking within the brush. It was not safe. It wasn't. I don't care what the Austin mayor says. That stretch of the north bank of Lady Bird Lake that I was at was not safe. It was not.
472 TIPS to provide any information to the Austin Police Department in reference to this incident or any other incident. That's probably all the information I can provide. I can try to answer some questions if there's some gaps, and if I can provide that information, I'd like to.
What's the total number of death investigations you guys have had here at Lady Bird Lake this year?
I don't know how to answer that question. Are you?
What? Did you hear that question? What's the total number? What's the total number of deaths that you guys have investigated on Lady Bird Lake? And his answer is, I'm not going to answer that question. Are you freaking kidding me? There's something going on with the Austin PD. There is something going on.
They know there's something more going on here than just random acts of falling into the water and drowning. They know that.
But there's also something going on with them keeping information from the public.
Maybe it's one of their own. It's happened before.
Geez.
I'm not.
Oh, geez.
It's literally. I mean, I've seen so many cases over the years, right, where this actually happens, and yeah, so it's not like it's unheard of. I didn't just make that up. I got that because I've seen it happen.
It's deep though. Like it keeps getting deep. That's a thing. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I think it was back when we saw that first press conference from the lady that was found after I was there. This just keeps getting deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Down the rabbit hole with Alice.
And you know, BTK had some had taken some criminology classes, although he was a dog catcher. Look at Bundy; he had criminology in his background. What was it? The Smiley Face Killer? Is that the guy, or was it the Golden State? One of the two. They had law enforcement background. I've watched many of like 48 Hours or Dateline or whoever I watch, because I watched so many, where they have shown cases where that has been a thing where law enforcement, you know, has been had to investigate their own.
Brian Koberger too.
Exactly. You can't take him off the table either.
But I just don't understand how this just keeps getting worse. Like, you guys should be making it better. That's what your job is, and they keep making it worse. All right, here we go.
You could contact our PIO office and they can provide information.
Multiple, obviously, right?
I don't know the answer to that question offhand, so I'd hate to speculate. There have been deaths in or around Lady Bird Lake. As far as the numbers this year, I'm just not familiar with them.
There have been deaths in or around Lady Bird Lake, and I'm just not familiar with them. This is a spokesperson for the police department. I'm not familiar with the other deaths around Lady Bird Lake.
Well, you should be. I mean, you're law enforcement. It's kind of your job.
Yeah, like it's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to pause this thing so many times, but this guy is just blowing my mind with his ineptitude, and the fact that the Austin PD chose him to go out there in front of the cameras. You see those two TV microphones right in front of him, to go in front of the cameras and address another body found on Lady Bird Lake. And he doesn't know how many bodies have been found this year around Lady Bird Lake. For real, dude?
We know more than he does at this point.
Yeah, we do. Everybody does but him.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not his fault. Austin, okay, I mean, it kind of is, because if I were a member of the Austin Police Department and they decided to put me out there in front of cameras, I would do my freaking research.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on. They all know how many bodies have been found around there. They know.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And all he has to do is ask one person. He can freaking Google it. I Googled it and I know.
Yeah. And it's simple to find out.
So it's kind of his fault, but it's also the Austin PD's fault for putting him out there. Just stop with this bullshit, guys. Seriously, stop with putting these people who won't answer the questions or who don't know the answer to the questions out there. Give us some answers. Give us some meaningful answers. Now, I don't live in Austin. I have no ties to Austin. I mean, my grandma lived in Houston. My great grandma lived in Houston. So I have ties there. But I mean, as far as Lady Bird Lake goes, I don't care if this guy's a jackass or not, or if the Austin PD is not doing their job. But I do, because the victims are not getting justice because the lack of proper police work, and the citizens of Austin are not getting answers because the lack of proper communication, just period, plain and simple. And the lack of communication may be due to the lack of proper police work, and they're just trying to cover their ass. It's one or the other. You're either inept or you're incompetent, or you're covering something up. That's my rant.
It seems that way. I mean, it really does is starting to look that way.
It just feels that way, like, because every single press conference, every single
things
time
that you work on, what your specialty is, things of that nature.
Uh-oh,
Sure.
Sorry.
Rutro. Let's ask him what his specialty is. It's not public relations, dude.
No, it's not. Not at all. He should have been better equipped to do this little presser with.
Yep.
Does it make it more difficult for APD to
Some frontier
when the person
innovations.
something happens like this, is go automatically to the theories they have, that getting the truth out is harder? Or
So the question is, is it problematic when the public speculates on a death investigation and thinks it's suspicious when we don't have any information to that? Is that kind of the question? That question, the process is the process. The public is going to have their concerns.
Whoa. That reporter just asked the best question that I've heard in any of these press conferences.
Yeah.
And his response is, the process is the process.
Dude,
Dude, no, you have an opportunity. This reporter just opened the door for you to help everybody out, to stop the speculation. And no, you're like, process is the process. Wow. Oy vey.
We would love to provide all the answers as soon as we came out here, as soon as that 911 call came out, but it obviously is a process. So that's why we do things like, look at the condition of the body, check out the surrounding scenarios and timeline by which that person came to that date and time. And then that helps to provide some clarity. People are going to be concerned, and I understand we can't provide as much information as we would like. So people are going to want to fill in the gap. So I think it's just natural for people to have those concerns.
So we don't want to talk about, because the family has been notified.
Correct. So the family has not been notified yet. That will be part of the process. That's something that happens relatively soon. Our medical examiner's office, in connection with the homicide unit, will provide that information to the family when they're identified.
Person was found in the water.
Yes.
Any tips? So a lot of people use these trails. They're running.
Sure.
Obviously, very popular area. What would you recommend to the public?
Sure. I mean, always, with trail safety, with this incident or anytime you're out in public, we often get sucked into our phones or not paying attention to our surroundings, or have our AirPods in or earpods in or headphones on, and we're not paying attention to our surroundings. That's always important.
Wow.
Yeah, he's about to blame it on people being
On their phone and not
on
paying
their
attention to
phone
their
and not
surroundings.
paying attention. So if you're experiencing homelessness, do you have phone service? Are they all out there on their phones with their AirPods in, just enjoying life, and accidentally stumbling down the hill and falling into the water? Jesus Christ, give me a break, man.
It's ridiculous. Like the level of ridiculousness just keeps getting more ridiculous.
Right. If the CEO was found in Lady Bird Lake, they would raise hell, right? Young Black economists. I mean, what's it going to take? Somebody of what they think has stature before they decide, hey, there's something nefarious going on here. If the next victim isn't experiencing homelessness and has an actual family, and we've seen a couple of the victims that have had that, the victims' families have come out and spoke out demanding more answers. They're not getting them either. But is it going to take somebody well-known or what? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Higher in society to go missing or end up in the lake if they take this stuff seriously? I just don't know what's going to make them do that.
It's usually police departments respond to public pressure, but they're kind of responding in a negative way here, because there's public pressure in the sense of the public is speculating about what's really going on because the police department isn't giving us answers about what's really going on.
And that's usually their first go-to, because, I refer back, okay, I'm in Florida. There was a time in Florida we had the worst Child Protective Services agency in the country, in my opinion. We had kids going missing that no one knew about for 2 years. And then when it was finally reported, the public caught on as these stories began to come out. They caught a lot of hell and a lot of pushback. That's changed now. When they want to come out hot and deny it, don't come at us, we didn't do anything wrong. And then they start investigations and realized, oh my God, there was a lot of things done wrong. Now we need to fix it. The same way with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. It is one of the top in the country. I have a lot of respect for the agency here in my home state, but they weren't always the best. It takes pushback sometimes to force change. And I remember if I have ever spoke out against law enforcement, I would catch hell sometimes in chats about that. You go after law. No, I'm not going after law enforcement. I'm saying do better. Make a change. We're not stupid. You can't play us. You can play the most naive people out there, but you can't play everybody. And at some point you have to give pushback, not going at them, like a big lion, but just push back. And sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah. It's going to take a few people reviewing these pressers like this to push back and be like, this is ridiculous, guys. You got to do better. They got to do better. Like you said, just do better.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Just do your job. And it just feels like so much distraction, both detraction and distraction from the real issues when they play these cards and they say these things in a press conference. Yeah, just be aware of your surroundings, get off of your phone, you got the AirPods on. So I was out there on a Saturday and they were having some type of a 5K or a 2K or some kind of running event that was ending right there at the bridge where I parked. And it was really cool because there were people that were at the finish line that were like cheering the people that crossed the finish line. They were all like giving them a cheer every time they came across. It was awesome. It was so positive. It was a positive event. So there were lots of runners on the trails that day. And then I saw people in rowing crews out on the lake, and I saw people on bicycles. I did not see one single person except for myself on their phone. Not one single person. So this is just like chaff and redirect. He didn't know how to answer the question. So he's just like, hey, pay attention to your surroundings and get off your phone. I did not see anybody. Of course, it was during the daytime, but when I was out there at night, I also didn't see anybody on their phone. So it's a nonsense answer that means absolutely nothing and helps nobody, which should be the goal of this press conference. We should be wanting to not find any more dead bodies in Lady Bird Lake. And he seems to want to redirect from that. All right, we're going to finish this up.
In regards to this particular case, I can't say what, if that made any difference, but certainly good public safety and good awareness is always beneficial.
Do you know if this victim was homeless or was it just a trail goer?
Don't have any idea or information on that. Like I said, elderly, white or Hispanic male is all the information I can provide right now. I'll take one more question.
I'll take one more question. That's it.
Public safety shouldn't be concerned. Is there any threat to the public?
So the question was, is there any concern to the public or threat to the public? Right now, we don't have any concern. We're not concerned at all about an ongoing threat.
There have been 26 bodies found along the lake in the last 3 years, and we have no concerns about any threats to the public.
Okay, well, then your lake is extremely unsafe, and that's a big threat to the public. When I can go both ways. Okay, I'll bite. Nothing to see here. Just people falling into the lake. Well, then fix your damn lake. I don't know what else to tell them. Close the damn thing off if you can't fix it. If that's all it is. It's not even safe for your community members to go down there and enjoy your dangerous lake.
I took a midnight stroll on that north bank, and I will guarantee you there were times when I did not feel safe. I didn't ever feel like my life was directly in danger, but I definitely felt like I should be very aware of my surroundings, and that answer just doesn't cut it. That doesn't cut it. Sorry, Dan.
No.
Say it after you've found 26 bodies in the last 3 years along your lake, and then just saying there's no threat, there's no danger to the public. Just that's not it. All right. Do you want to wrap this up, or do you want to keep diving into other stuff?
It's up to you. I do want to kind of try to put together. I've got a list of the victims, their ages, and the dates they were all discovered, but that's about as far as I've gotten with it. I think it was Help that once it suggested some things, but I do want to. I don't know. There's just I feel like they're, like you said, were they all on weekends? Are they? What is a common denominator? Was some of them more like in the summer versus winter? What's going on, and I think there can be some common denominators if we just look for them, and that's what I need to kind of focus on to try to make it make sense in my head, because it's not making any sense.
Because we never did get to that Delphi press conference in your live last night. Do you want to take a look at that?
Oh yeah, you can do that.
All right. I'm going to
Did
play
you ever
that.
watch that whole thing?
I have not. This will be my first time. So
Oh, okay.
I'm like a Doug Carter virgin. Oh, don't go there.
Oh, Lord.
But first, I'm going to play the news story from this because I got to take a little break. So I'm going to let this little news story play, and then I'll be back, and then we'll go into the Delphi press conference. And that's probably going to get pretty deep pretty fast. Fox News. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Here we go.
All right. Well, folks in Austin, Texas are grappling with the possibility of a serial killer as bodies keep mysteriously turning up in a section of the Colorado River known as Lady Bird Lake. Well, it's the lake, the river feeds into the lake, and frustrations are growing in the Blue City as it struggles with the police shortage and a homicide surge. Fox News contributor Paul Morrow is on this with us, and you've been on this for quite a time. We've been covering the story here for a while.
Yeah.
You dug deeper.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there was all these random explanations for like why people were being found dead in Lady Bird Lake. And it became very odd, Paul. What are you learning now?
So Austin has under 1 million people. New York City has 8.5 million. And comparatively, New York City has nothing like this. When I did a request to the NYPD, it turns out they came back with 0 suspicious drownings in the entire year of 2023. And Austin is up over a dozen. Now, I reached out to the Austin Police Department. They gave me a very anodyne statement saying essentially nothing to see here. We've investigated, nothing suspicious. But the commonality of the quote unquote victims is troubling. You have over at least a dozen bodies, most of them middle-aged males who were in the bars along. There's a strip of bars in and around Austin. It's known to be a place you can go, party,
Sure.
etc. There's the middle-aged males who end up in the lake, who are not known to be heavy drinkers. There's no explanation as to why they would be there. There's no implication that they decided to just go swimming in the middle of the night. The bodies are found in the middle of the night. And here's the thing to me that's really interesting. May of this year, a victim named Jeff Jones. Last thing he remembers, according to the reporting, he's in a bar. Next thing he remembers, he has some vague recollection of being on a bridge. And he says he feels like he was pushed off. The only reason he survived is he didn't hit the water. He hit the shore and survived. He was all banged up, but he survived. When they did his blood, he'd been roofied. He'd had the date rape drug in his blood, which was one of the theories you and I discussed.
Yep.
And a lot of people have discussed is, are the autopsies showing if any of these victims have been roofied? Austin PD is.
All right. That's one that we probably ought to investigate a little more. Was his name Jeff Jones? Is that what we heard? But he feels like he was roofied. We're going to have to check that out.
Yeah. Yes. That's
because
him.
he's not the only one that I think that said that they believe that may have been what happened.
Exactly.
So if he was roofied, he was probably roofied at a local bar or club, right?
I would think so.
Like
One of
his-
the locations down there. The one brother that we saw come out and speak, his brother had been found down there and was deceased. But they know for a fact one of the last places he was at one of the bars down there. And that he left the bar looking quite normal and walking normal because they can see that on CCTV. But when he left the second bar just a short time later, he was no longer normal. He appeared to be heavily intoxicated, but the brother said he wasn't in there long enough to get that drunk. He wasn't in there long. So did he take or ingest something while he was in that bar? And it hit him so quickly when he walked out, he began to stumble or whatever was going on there. But the way the
Right.
brother's description was, it was just two totally different people.
Right. That was the guy that they went to the Luster Pearl first and then they went to
Yes.
the Alibi Club, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So the Luster Pearl is where I started my live that night. And then the Alibi was like several blocks to the northwest. And I kind of was in that direction during the day, but I didn't go that direction in the night. But there's a large club scene. There are a lot of clubs. There's the stretch on Rainy Street that has a lot of clubs, which I took you up and down a couple times. But then there's also one that's northwest of there, which is where the Alibi's at, and there are several other clubs up there, and that's closer to where some of the bodies have been found. So that's an interesting geographic aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
Is very understaffed. I'm sure they're doing what they can, but it's a troubling pattern.
We had a woman back in, just to give our viewers an example how long we've been covering.
Wait, did he just say the police department's understaffed? Is that what he just said? Crap, I don't know if I can rewind this.
I believe that's what he said.
I think that's what he said. The police department's understaffed. And that's
That's
their
an excuse. That's an
Oh.
excuse. Mm-hmm. As usual.
So this guy's doing some good investigative reporting. I like his theories and talking about some things, but
Damn it, man.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's my go-to for several cases lately. Damn it.
Covering the story, they probably remember. This was Reagan Aparicio. She joined us on this program in February talking about the mysterious drowning of her partner, John Christopher Hayes, and said this then.
I believe somebody put him at the lake. I don't believe he put himself there. It's just, I mean, I really haven't had any backup as far as City of Austin or Austin Police Department helping in that way. But I know for sure that he was put in that lake and he was killed.
I mean, that is her own account of that. But what we do know is that Texas residents have been expressing major concern over staffing shortages at the police. They voted to defund the police department back in 2020. In February, a single police officer there was one police officer on duty in one section of the city for a few hours on a Saturday.
Okay, that puts it in a different light. That puts it in a way different light.
Yeah.
I want to check more into that, because if they really are seriously understaffed, I'm not saying that
That's no excuse for poor investigation,
Right.
period. You
exactly.
don't.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so you're so understaffed, but you are well equipped to come out and say within 2 hours, nothing to see here, drowning again.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
now I'm not buying it. I've heard that. We hear that all the time in law enforcement cases. Well, we're understaffed. We're this. We're that. It's excuses, in my opinion. There's no excuse.
Yeah. Well, homicides have to be your number one priority over everything else. And if they've had, if they average about 70 homicides a year, then you would think that 8 of those 70, like 10, 15%, would have you focusing on a certain area, but not a single one of the deaths has been ruled a homicide. So
Yeah.
that doesn't even count in the 70 whatever that they had, in 2022, 2023. That doesn't even count because they weren't ruled homicides.
Well, I guess if they don't want to investigate stuff, they're all
Yeah.
all be chalked up to accidental stuff.
Exactly. Wow, this homeless thing is really starting to get my attention. It really is, and it's a problem in Phoenix too. Like when I went downtown last week to pick up some documents from the Maricopa Superior Court Clerk's office, it didn't take me very long, but it took me, a minute or two to drive there. So I was like, well, while I'm here, I'm going to go check out the homeless area, because they also had a homeless area that was cleared out, that they're like, okay, this area is a problem and we're going to clear it out. Like the one by the Holiday Inn there in Austin. We're going to clear it out. Well, they're going somewhere, and they're not going into a house or a hotel room. They got to move somewhere. So I went and I tracked down where the homeless population is now in Phoenix. And it was sad, and it was disturbing, and it's a problem. It is. Anyway, that's my side rant. We'll finish this little article up here.
This is the Austin Police Association president calling attention to the vacancies of their police departments, saying there's a steady decline in public safety that's put the city on the brink of disaster. Holy moly.
Yeah, and they have an activist DA there. Travis County DA, a guy named Jose Garza. He is an avowed member of the Democratic Socialists of America, funded by George Soros. He ticks all of those boxes. His main priority seemed to have been when he hit office was to indict police officers. He indicted 21 after the summer of love in 2020. 17 at least were thrown out. Okay, so you can see what his.
Okay, I can't do the political stuff. I gotta cut this off. Start talking about George Soros and Democratic whatever party, and I gotta cut it off. I understand. I understand it. It is. So police departments are political. So I don't deny that, and that they can be funded politically, but we don't need to get into that here.
No, I'm not trying to get into all that with them. I don't live there, and I don't have no dog in that hunt.
Yep, exactly.
Not right now.
There we go. We done with that. Ed's gone. All right, you want to watch the Doug Carter press conference now after the sentencing of Richard Allen?
Yeah, so that was yeah, that'd be fine.
You don't sound all that enthused about it.
I just might have comments. I just kind of started reading chat there for a second, but yeah, I'm kind of like multitasking right now, but yes, because I can't believe the way they came out and presented themselves after. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised, but it's like, damn, really?
Yeah, I shouldn't have been surprised. Nope.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they started with a good article, and I had to go away. Here we go.
Okay.
Doug Carter, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Here we go. There's Doug Carter. He's somewhere on my computer.
I had prepared remarks today, but I decided walking in here that I wasn't going to read them.
Why? Why, Doug? Why did you go away from your prepared remarks?
John Prine,
That's not the first time he's done that, though, when he's come out to make statements.
Nope, you are correct. You are 100% correct. He has said that a couple of times.
Yep.
Who is the guy in the background over his left shoulder?
I don't know, but it's bugging me. He looks like somebody that I'm not going to say out loud, but he's not that person, but he just kind of favors them a little bit.
Yep.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
So,
I do.
if you put a hat on that person, would it be the same person?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
He looks very, very, very familiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. Makes you go,
Mm-hmm.
This entire thing began. I didn't know what I would think, and I didn't realize today we were going to be walking into the same room where many of you were, I believe, in, again, from memory, April of 2019 or that time frame. And
what is the deal with him rubbing his nose all the time? And I do it myself a couple of times, but he has a really bad habit of it.
Is it? He's always sniffling. Like, what makes your nose run so bad, dude? Are you like, we could accuse you of something nefarious, but I won't.
Right?
Well,
No,
do you have a medical condition? He's got a medical condition.
Has nothing to do with snow.
No, not at all. None of that happening there. He's just got the sniffles.
Somebody said that in one of my somebody said that in one of my lives, though. I think maybe it was What's Good for the Goose. I think somebody said they think he's doing that, but
But I mean, okay, so if that's the case, though, he's been doing it for years and he doesn't look like it, though. I mean, you know what I mean? If you're into that kind of thing, you're going to show signs. You're not going to be able to keep your shit together. Exactly.
Right.
But, people will run with that kind of stuff. But no, seriously, he's not doing coke, I don't think. I'll say it. But does he have a medical condition that causes these he's got a horrendous case of the sniffles constantly for 2 straight years that I'm aware of. Has he been to the doctor for that? I don't know. I'm surprised he's not carrying a little tissue everywhere he goes and to dry it up.
over the course of these last many years now, several of us, me included, have been mocked and ostracized for our emotion
Signals
For
to
our
the
Whoa,
other
benefit.
what?
Masons.
Well, what did he just say? Mocked and ostracized?
Yeah.
Who has freaking mocked and ostracized him besides me? I mean, but I don't count.
Social media. He's talking about us, people that we
Is he
associate
really?
with. Yes, listen to it again. Hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna back that up.
But it's not mainstream media. They're not on their ass like the rest of us are.
Right.
It's social media
And
he's speaking to. True
you know
crimers.
what? That's actually a point. I'm gonna have to turn my camera on for this because this is a point that I wanted to address. Turn on camera. There we go. I'm still in the dark. So I went and I hung out in a chat last night that was on a YouTube channel that is Richard Allen is guilty, 100% guilty, and there's no other answer to what we did. And I was cool with it because you have your opinion and you have your right to express your opinion and you have your right to your YouTube channel.
Yep.
And the owner of that channel has always been respectful to me, always. Even though I've had different opinions from her, she's always been respectful. But she had on a co-host last night that went into that, and he's like, oh, you guys that are sharing this crap, that I'm going after you now. I'm going to turn you into law enforcement. He was threatening to turn people into law enforcement, and he actually said, I believe he said he did already.
He says, I have your names, I have your addresses, I know who you are. Well, the big guy speaks a lot of words right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
so you're going to take away our freedom of speech because we disagree?
He's not going to take away anything.
No, hell no, he's not.
Come on,
Bring
bro.
it.
Come at me,
That's
bro.
right.
Come at me.
Bring it.
He's not taking away anything, but he also claimed that he had a phone call from Jerry Holman, which may or may not be true. And she claimed that she had spoken to Nick McClellan, which actually
he claimed that phone call came in during that live.
Right. But regardless of that, we're social media, but we are media. Like I have less than 500 subscribers, but I am a social media content creator. So when Judge Gull allows people from Fox and CBS and Gannett News, the Lafayette Journal and Courier, to go look at the exhibits after every day of hearings, and she doesn't let people like Murder Sheets, Kevin and Anya, and I know there are a lot of people that aren't fans of them, but I don't care if you're a fan of them or not. They're social media content creators.
Yep.
So what is your, what did she say? It had to be credentialed media. What is your credential? There is no official media credential. Like there are media credentials out there, but you just send them money and they send you a credential.
I guess she meant if you worked for an organized news organization.
Right. But she said credentialed media. I'm credentialed media.
Social media is the new media. People need to, a lot of people don't, when, even during the political stuff, fake news, don't watch the news, all that crap. Well, I don't watch the mainstream media a lot anymore either. Not because I felt like they were fake news and bringing me nothing but crap. It's because I want real answers. I don't want people who don't want to put out the real truth or don't want to investigate. There wasn't a lot of good investigative stuff going on anymore for me. Like I wanted to dig deeper to stuff. So you can find that on social media. You can do it responsibly on social media. You don't have to be a jackass like certain people in this space choose to be. You don't have to be that way. And people are never going to always agree with your opinion or your take on a case or things like that. So yeah, and a lot of people do turn to social media to get their news. They don't just watch it on mainstream media anymore.
And part of that is because mainstream media has turned to, for several years, more than 10 years, maybe 20 years, to whatever we can put out there first, whether it's true or not, if we get it out there first, then we're going to win the race. They're in a race for whoever can put out stuff first.
Well,
And
that's people on social media are just as guilty.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that's
Well, even without
going with this
vetting it,
because
Coffin Daffer. Sorry,
what? Did you say that? Did
I
you say
did.
that on my channel?
I did. J Coff. I call her J Coff.
Yeah, they
I
and they
mean,
do. So with social media that takes after the mainstream media negative side of everything detracts from all of us. And that's why judges won't give us access to stuff. That's why we don't have the credentials. Mainstream media can rely on their credentials from 50 years ago. I mean, they've been mainstream media for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it is.
mhm.
We haven't been.
Yep.
We haven't been.
And
My
I'm
channel,
sorry. Here's the thing. When I was covering Idaho a lot, and then I was watching the Delphi case, and I saw things started to happen in Delphi. So I started really going in deep into the Delphi stuff. I backed off. I backed off
yeah,
fast because I saw things happening I didn't like. I saw creators. Now, a creator go after creators all the time. That happens, but I saw things happening that I didn't care for. And people were not people, this certain person even tried to get me to join a specific Discord. And I'm like, I'm not biting, dude. I'm not doing it. And I know why they wanted me to do it. They were trying to snatch IP addresses. And there was a lot of doxing. So then it became apparent to me, and Murder Sheet's just as guilty as the rest of them. They can say what they want. They were being fed stuff by the prosecution. It was obvious at some point. So do I think that prosecutors and defense attorneys will use people? Absolutely, they will. And I don't blame them for what they try to do. You want to counteract what the other side, but the prosecution in this case, and you're about to see it, are going to totally throw the defense under the bus and blame them for everything ever done. When the first leaks with Delphi started with Murder Sheet, they were the ones putting out leaked information in the very beginning. But then they wanted to backtrack and pretend like they were not doing that. And then when you have creators who come out and say, well, I'm talking to Holman and I have a relationship with McClellan and then they're absolutely feeding you information to feed a narrative. And I no longer want to watch you because you no longer are unbiased. You're very biased in what you're doing. And I'm like
we
you,
have an
I will go
agenda.
into other places that feel opposite of the way I do to check my own self. You know what I mean? To make sure
Yeah,
I'm not leaning in too hard to theories that aren't actual and
yeah.
things like
And
that. And I'll,
in
yeah,
that stream last night, they said, okay, they argued with me and they said, okay, well, the jury found him guilty. And I had to be like, you're absolutely correct. The jury found him guilty and he is legally, according to law, 100% guilty. And he will
yeah,
have to pay his price. But they also said a couple of other things that were not true. And when I called them out on those things, they completely ignored me. So you
mm-hmm,
can't, you shouldn't be playing at just one side or the other. You should be out here. We should be out here. I should be out here in
yeah,
the interest of honesty and justice, plain and simple. Let's just find justice. Let's find justice for Abby and Libby.
right.
Let's find justice for the victims on Lady Bird Lake if we can. We don't live there. We have no dog in that hunt, but
Right.
maybe if we raise some awareness, maybe we can find some justice for them. But it should be about justice, not clicks and likes and views. And I'm not monetized, so clicks and likes and views don't help me at all. But I do appreciate them, though. I appreciate all you
Of
guys.
course, we appreciate them. And you appreciate your community that comes in who wants to hear truths being spoken or looking into the different things that are happening in these cases and trying to figure out what's going on, not coming out and just pushing a narrative onto people. Even when I said last night in my live, I referred everybody to go watch The Reckoning of Carroll County and go make up your own mind about what you see there. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I never want to be that person. I want to check myself if I get to that point. But I'm willing to give you the information and have a conversation about it. And you can absolutely make up your own mind at that point. But there's even like in the Sebastian Rogers case, it got so yucky there. There are a lot of people who are in that case that absolutely go with whatever the creator tells them.
It's
And
still
I'm
yucky.
not that person.
That case is still yucky. Like, I don't know anything about it. Like, I have no knowledge of anything in the Sebastian Rogers case except that he disappeared one night and he's an autistic teenage boy. That's all I know. And I've seen stuff that just makes me want to stay far, 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 far away from it.
Well, I'm having a hard time staying far, far away because I'm getting pissed. Even with, I saw a court TV piece where because somebody leaked the video of Sebastian and his mother in the restaurant the night he disappeared, or the last time he was seen. And they're sitting there and they're eating, and he's just eating away like a normal 15-year-old boy will do. Okay, I got 2 boys. One just turned 18. One's in his mid-30s. If you saw the one in his mid-30s eat a meal, you'd think that child had never been fed before in his life. That's how he eats. It drives his sister crazy. It always did. And boys eat fast. My boys do. And so she comes out and goes on court TV and says she was really concerned because it appeared that the way Sebastian was eating, it's like he hadn't had a meal in so long. It's like, what are you implying here? That his mother was starving him and then took him to a restaurant for his last supper? I mean, come on, lady. That really pissed me off that she was out there even saying that when it didn't even, if you watch the video, in my opinion, it looks like a normal dinner between a mother and a son. And the kid is just eating, but not according to Jennifer Coffindaffer. And I called her out on Twitter. I'm sorry, I had to.
Don't apologize.
It's ridiculous.
You got to do what you got to do. And boys will be boys. I had 4. I have 4.
Right.
I had 4. I have 4.
Right.
And
you know how they are. And, some of them eat. He wasn't like being a pig at all. He was just, he reminded me of my son, the way he eats, and I'm like, I had a feeling somebody would say something about that because I know how the people in that community roll. And lo and behold, it had to be her to say something. I was like, nah.
Right.
Like, lady, you're the same one who went and took DB's fake Google searches on Richard Allen and ran straight to your live. And I've got Richard Allen's Google searches. Oh my God, look. And we're all laughing, going, lady, that's the fakest shit. That was totally made up by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But here you are putting it out as facts that someone sent it to you. And I know what he was searching for. Is Holman a real cop? And she thought that was a real Google question.
DB is a prankster. Yeah, absolutely.
I know.
He cracked me up last night.
Yeah. I mean,
if you guys haven't seen that, go watch that. Yeah, that was a good live. That was a really good live.
Yeah, it was.
Let's get more pissed off at Doug Carter.
Okay.
Many of you were, I believe, again, from memory, April of 2019 or that time frame. And over the course of these last many years now, several of us,
makes me want to
included, have been mocked and ostracized for our emotion.
No, dude. If you are sensitive about being mocked and ostracized, the superintendent of the Indiana State Police, the entire organization, and all of the troopers and all of the investigators, you might have thin skin.
Well, if he hadn't come out and said all the stuff he said over the years, and maybe he wouldn't have been treated that way.
Okay, so my grandpa was a high school football official, and he was actually inducted into his county athletic hall of fame for that and a couple of other things he did. He donated some things too to local high schools, but he wanted me to become a high school official too, and he gave me a lot of his stuff. When it was time for me to do that, I ended up not doing it. But the very first thing he said to me was, as a high school official, you can't have rabbit ears. You can't hear what the fans are yelling at you. You can't hear what the coaches are yelling at you. You can't hear what the players are yelling at you. You just do your job. You go out there and you officiate the game to the best of your ability, according to the rules as you know them, and you ignore all of the noise. And it seems like Doug Carter can't do that. He's got rabbit ears if he's already talking about, like, what are we, 48 seconds into this clip, and he's already talking about being ostracized. Give me a break, dude. You're a law enforcement official. Who cares about what social media says? Apparently he does.
Yeah.
And if he cares about it, that absolutely could have affected his communications with the family, his communications with the media, and his oversight of the actual investigation itself.
And there were times he wanted to come out and address things being said, but he honored the gag order. Whatever,
And now he doesn't
dude.
have to. Now he doesn't have to. So he's going to tell us everything, right?
Right
He
now,
wishes he could tell us everything.
tell us everything you said you were going to tell us. All that stuff you
For our
couldn't wait for us
inability
to
to answer
know.
questions that you might ask, and the thought that we're something other than human beings. I'm not going to apologize for that. I often say I wish people could see what goes on behind the scenes, and not just with people dressed like me, but citizens of this county and of this city. It's amazing, amazing acts of unbelievable courage and self.
What courage? Doolin, Mullen, Kathy, who exercised courage in
There was
targeting
nothing.
Richard Allen.
When are we gonna? Let's get serious. The guy come out where wait till everybody knows all these things. They obviously didn't know a damn thing till Kathy found the damn tip. Whether it was planted, given to her, however they discovered it. The fact is, 5 years went by, and you kept saying, "We know this, we know that. Wait till you know this, and you know that. We're almost there. We're getting closer." They weren't getting anywhere until Kathy found that tip. That's when they got the ball rolling, and within weeks, Richard Allen was thrown in prison. So they didn't know anything. They didn't know jack shit for 5 straight years.
Right.
They did know things, but they chose to ignore the things they knew. Let me put it that way.
After 2 extended interrogations of Richard Allen, when he professed his innocence multiple times.
Yeah.
That's when he was arrested.
Yeah. I mean, they had nothing to go on to point to Richard Allen until she allegedly found that tip.
In her drawer, in her desk
And
drawer. It wasn't in a file cabinet. I was there. She said it was in my desk drawer.
And not once are they going to say, we don't understand why Dan Doolin didn't recall he interviewed the guy that day that claimed he was there and had on similar clothing. Even though we put all that video out there and all the sketches and told, all these press conferences to please look around. It could be your neighbor. It could be your grandpa, your uncle. Dan Doolin never said, well, damn, that guy I interviewed did say he was there and he was wearing this and that. Not one time. That's not courage.
No, that's not. That's not anywhere close to courage. No, like, I want to know who he is calling courageous in this press conference. I've got to back it up like 30 seconds. This this 9-minute and 25-second press conference is going to turn into 4 hours.
But citizens of this county and of this city, it's amazing, amazing acts of unbelievable courage and self-service.
Amazing acts of courage. Who did amazing acts of courage? Like, for real?
Nope. None of them. They've already said they didn't know anything until Kathy found their tip. And then boom, they went to work.
That's not courage.
That's not courage. That's luck. If that's
Right,
true,
exactly.
if it was found in a box, in a drawer, and whatever, that's luck. That's all that was. There was no courage involved with that.
And then she gave it to Tony Liggett.
Well, there's your courage right there. Tony had the courage to finally get to go out and make an arrest.
Right.
They need to go to the Wizard of Oz, man.
In an election year.
Yeah. Exactly. Takes courage to do that, don't it? To put a man into, yeah. Never mind.
And self-sacrifice.
Flick the nose.
I wish you all could have been in the courtroom today and heard the victim impact statements.
I actually wouldn't have minded being in there for those.
Well, I have the MTEP. I have them.
Yeah,
And
I've
you've
seen parts
them?
of them.
Yeah.
I've seen,
And
yeah.
I don't disparage these families at all, because what they,
Nope.
losing a child is devastating. And if you lose a child in this way, it's going to compound that. And I know what I'm talking about. When I lost my daughter, it wasn't because of some, malicious act. It was a medical thing. But if it had been, it's hard no matter what. But if it's that type of circumstance, I feel like that would make it even worse or harder to get through life with. Right. And so I don't take away from what these families have suffered. And I don't blame them for being convinced that this is the guy, if that's how they feel.
Yeah.
Because in my
Absolutely.
opinion, I keep families out of it when I talk true crime. Even like in Idaho, I'm very protective of those victims because I saw so much being said and done to them and about them that didn't need to be out there, or was just flat out lies. And just because somebody wanted an alternate scenario, right? And they would do anything to get it. So I don't, the impact statements are what they are, and it's sad that if Richard Allen's not the guy, those families weren't served justice and the girls weren't either. And I can't blame them if they believe that it was,
Yeah, I don't either. I don't blame them one bit. And I would actually, I might have an avenue to talk to one of them. And if I do, it would probably be private at first. And maybe I could get some type of something after that. But if not, I completely understand. But you can't blame them. You can't. Like, they want justice for what happened. And parents, grandparents, sisters, they all just wanted justice. And the ones that feel like they got justice in this, I'm happy for them. The people that feel like Richard Allen was incorrectly convicted, then there's an appeals process to that, and that's what's going to happen next. And who knows where that will lead.
I don't know if that will bring us I think a lot of that's going to be due to technicalities to fight in court. I don't think it's going to be brought out that I really have reservations that anything they can bring in the Odinism stuff there and all that, but that's not going to solve what happened to the girls. They can get Rick's justification for what needs to be done for him through the appeals process, but I still don't know if any of that's going to lead to the correct people being charged if Rick's not the guy. I just don't know how that's going to play out. But I understand that Rick Allen and his defense team's got to do what they got to do, especially if they are convinced he was wrongfully accused and incarcerated for that crime. And I don't like saying, well, I'm all in, not guilty, but from what I saw, I can't get there 100% that Rick Allen's guilty of anything but being there. I can even say in my mind, he could absolutely be bridge guy, but that does not mean he did something to those girls.
Yep.
Especially if you hear people review the video that saw it in court and how it looked to them and how we know what they did to that video to alter it and all those things. So I can't trust what they're telling me about that video at this, you know what I mean? I just cannot trust it.
No. And I don't understand how the jury didn't request the same headphones that Tony Liggett had on.
I know, right?
He said he had to wear special headphones to hear the audio on that. And I'm okay with that because there are definitely things that you can hear better with better headphones. But why didn't the jury want to hear that? Why didn't why didn't the defense probe more into how the video was altered? Because it's an altered video that was admitted in court. It's an altered video. So how did you alter it? Why did you alter it? And what am I actually seeing on this video? Because I saw it. I saw that bridge guy pop up right behind Abby, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And
He goes from
also,
being from really far behind, and boom, all of a sudden there.
yeah,
I don't.
yeah,
It's really
it was
weird.
it was mind-boggling. It's like that. It felt like a TV production, a movie production. Like it felt a professional videographer like altered that video to put bridge guy right behind her. And I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that's what it seemed like in the moment. And I would know that as a jury member. I would want to know that as a jury member. I would want to have those headphones on that Tony Liggett was listening to. And as a jury member, I would want to go down and wade through the creek when it was pushing through the flood levels that it was on February 13th of 2017, because I walked through it when it was a fraction of that. And absolutely, you could kidnap 2 girls and you could take them across the creek when it was at the level that it was at when I was there, but it wasn't at that level on February 13th. And we know that from stream gauge records from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA. They have stream gauge records. So I want to go walk through that when the stream is that deep. I want to go figure out, can I kidnap 2 girls and take them down the hill to the private drive that goes to Brad Weber's house, and then down the hill again to the creek? Because there's 2 hills. There's not one hill. And unless you're out there in person, it's hard to visualize that. It's hard to fathom exactly what that was from down the hill. But there are definitely hills. And the first hill down to Brad Weber's drive gives me serious misgivings about them possibly being taken off site and being brought back later.
Oh, yeah. Look, I remember the day I realized there was a private drive down there. My immediate thought was, how do they know, or why would they cross that creek like that? Or, why would the person take them across that creek? Or who's to say they didn't get in a car? And then when I realized you can get down there from the cemetery, that, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. How do they know? There's different things. And then I started looking into it more, and I'm not there. I can't. There's so many questions still, that just don't make any damn sense.
Right. And the reason we have questions is because of the shitty police work. So I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it now on my live. Fuck you, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, and fuck you, ISP.
Oh, Lordy. I second that.
You all could have done a whole lot better and given us a whole lot better answers than just an unspent round that had to be shot 3 times out of an ISP investigator's gun to match
and
Richard
not
Allen.
Testing all the hairs they found. And even today, they put we've advanced a lot since they were first found to now, and they still are holding them for. Why do you still need them for further testing if you got your guy? Why not go ahead and test them while you had your guy in jail, in prison, to back up your theory a little more with these hairs? You taking the sticks and tossing them aside and then going back weeks later to get them. That was a botched investigation from the get-go. A lot of mistakes were made in recovering critical evidence. And if it's true that what's his name, Fields, did spit on a victim, who's to say spit didn't land on one of your damn branches and you've tossed that aside to get washed away in the elements for a couple weeks while it laid out there? I mean, that's ridiculous policing in my investigation, in my opinion.
Okay. Did you know Elvis Fields' DNA actually did get tested?
Yeah, they took his DNA. They've got Westfield's DNA. They got all their DNAs. But if they couldn't, they don't have Rick Allen's DNA and still convicted him on a spent bullet. So if Fields did spit and it did land on a branch versus the victim themselves, and it was tossed to the side for several weeks, did they ever, chances of them finding it at that point were slim to none.
Yep.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? It just, come on, there was probably a lot more evidence there that could have helped that case that they just didn't realize was evidence because of their lack of training. I'll call it that. That'd be
No,
nice.
their lack of execution. It's
Yep.
100% lack of execution. There are protocols and standards and procedures that you go through as a law enforcement entity to investigate a crime, and they did not execute those 100%. They didn't even execute the search properly.
No.
Tobe Lesme called off the search at midnight or even before midnight and said, "We don't believe the girls are in danger. Everybody
Yep.
stop looking." And there were
Yep.
people that didn't. There were people that didn't stop looking, and kudos to them. That's amazing.
You know, I'm getting tired of law enforcement doing this when children are involved. We have a girl right now missing right here locally. She's 14 years old. She has a history of seizures. She was in a car accident a couple years ago that left her with a traumatic brain injury. So she acts like a 10 to 11-year-old child. She went missing around 3 a.m. was the last time she was seen in her home a week and a half ago. Law enforcement has come out and said, we don't think she's in danger. Bullshit. She is a child gone in the night like Sebastian Rogers, and you don't think she's in any kind of danger, period? We have no clue where this child is. The family has seen, so area businesses have turned over video cameras footage to law enforcement instead of giving it to the parents when they went in and approached these businesses. Apparently nobody in the area of the home has any Ring camera footage of this child leaving their home and walking down the street, or a car coming or going, anything that we know of yet. They've been in contact with, well, I'll say, I think they have been, the family has, but I don't know if law enforcement has contacted her bio mom yet, who lives in another state, who they know the girl did call that night, hours before she disappeared. But the fact that they've come out and said, we don't think she's in danger. Now, we've done a ground search down in town. The family's just distraught at this point. They don't know what to do or where to turn. And they're already getting very strange emails and messages, people claiming to know where this child is, and they want money to be told where this child is. We even had a guy in Destin message them and say, oh, I saw her at a party last night. She was all beat up and I was threatened not to tell nobody. Well, they did tell the investigators that, and they went down and spoke to the guy, and it was just bogus bullshit. But quit coming out and saying these kids are not in danger, or they're not missing. They just wandered off to their friend's house. They'll show up tomorrow, things like that. And that's what they did to Abby and Libby. You were absolutely right. They wanted to call off the search because they even said they didn't think that they were in danger. They just ran away to a friend's house and they'll come back tomorrow. You can't do that with children.
No, Tobe Lesenby said that. He was the Carroll County sheriff at the time. He didn't get superseded by Tony Liggett until 2022, the election of 2022, effective in 2023. And he said in those first two press conferences, Carroll County Sheriff's Office is the lead investigator in this. So they were also the lead agency in the search for them that night of February 13th, 2017.
Right.
When we could have had answers, when we could have had somebody maybe find the girls if they were killed according to the county's timeline. The county said they were dead by like what, 3 o'clock, 3:15, 3:30, whatever it was in the afternoon of the 13th.
Yep.
I mean, if they were dead and laying there on the bank that afternoon, and if you keep searching through the night, you can find them. And there are also theories.
Oh, we've heard all the excuses that the terrain was this, the terrain was that. They were concealed. They couldn't be seen. I don't buy it for a minute. And I'm telling you, as a parent, I think a lot of people feel this way, and I'm not just because I think the families did stay out there as long as they could. I'm not leaving that spot. I'm not. You're going to have to drag me out of those woods. You're going to better bring me the biggest flashlight she got, because guess who's about to traipse across that river in the dark all by herself? Me, to find my child. I'm not leaving the site. And the fact that cops are just like, well, we can just go home. And if they are out here, they'll be okay. We'll find them in the morning when daylight comes. That's not cool to do to any child. You know, they need to change it.
The one deputy that testified on August 1st when I was there, and I can't remember his name, and I'm not going to pull up my notes to freaking bring up his name. He's meaningless right now. He was within a half hour of the end of his shift. So he goes out on that private drive underneath the Monon High Bridge.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't recall his name either.
Hold on. I'm going to play this press conference a little bit more and go figure out why the dogs are being stupid. I'll be right back.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll always remember them. And I hope you'll get the transcripts and read what was said and try and understand the context of those words, even though you weren't in the courtroom. Over the course of these last many years, there have been many investigative strategies. Any notion of a cover-up, any notion of us deciding the outcome of this, any notion of any connection to anything else is not correct. It's not correct. I've never been a detective in my entire lifetime, but I get to represent some of the best on the planet Earth. And I listened to them intently. And when they made strategy decisions associated with what the next steps.
Okay, holy shit. He's been associated with the best detectives on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
Best evidence that they could find to connect Richard Allen to the crime scene was an unspent round that took the ballistics expert 3 shots to get a match with the best detectives on the planet Earth.
Once that tip was found, they misplaced. They're so good, they misplaced tips for 5 solid years. Come on, Doug. I can't get over that lost tip 5 year shit. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm having a
he doesn't have to over what is
oversell it?
Yeah, right. The best detectives on the planet Earth. Really? Really, dude? Look at that look on his face right there.
Yeah.
He knows they're not the best detectives on planet Earth. They're not even the best detectives in Indiana.
Yeah, Brooklyn, I agree. I'm sorry, I was reading a comment there about the police. Kelt's back. Yeah, there was no. They can't pat themselves on the back for a great investigation. You know what I mean?
No,
they just
they absolutely cannot call themselves the best detectives on the planet Earth because they would have come up with better evidence. They would have come up with DNA, maybe that tied.
Well,
Richard
they would have done a whole lot better job with their crime scene, and they wouldn't have lost interviews. They wouldn't have recorded over interviews. They wouldn't have cleared certain people so quickly based on a loose alibi. I mean, there's a lot of missteps that I can call them out on right now. I mean, you can't sit there and say how great you guys were when you've come out and said, well, we didn't know our system was recording over our interviews. 30 days worth of interviews lost. 5 years later, we go back and collect Bridge Guy car footage. You know, we took screenshots in the beginning, thought that'd be okay. But, oh, now y'all want the actual video? Hold up. We'll go get it 5 years later. Oh, look, we got it. But we didn't see it. I don't even know if that was played in court of the Hoosier Harvester video that allegedly shows Rick Allen's car.
It was a still shot. I saw a still.
Exactly. So they didn't get that video. Shit was not there 5 years later. They're lying. So, you know, you don't do that. You made some really sloppy mistakes in your investigation. So don't come out here and talk about how great you guys were.
you spend $1 million searching the Wabash River for a gun that a known liar tells you
Well, you know what?
in there.
Exactly.
$1 million.
And if people believe that Rick Allen's the guy, that's fine. But think about this. It took 5 years to arrest that man. So for 5 years, they put their own community through the living hell. They were all turning on each other, all looking at each other. Everybody had calling in tips about Bridge Guy, making everybody uneasy. All these things were happening because of their botched investigation. So if they had proof that Richard Allen was the guy, or they have all this evidence of the guy, but we don't know who he is. Oh, until Kathy found that darn tip. Thanks. Come on. That's not a good investigation. You can't keep saying that. You need to come out and apologize for your crappy investigation and that we put everybody through hell for 5 years. We apologize to these victims for not getting this guy sooner. Because as a outsider looking in, how come nobody, because I could not figure out why nobody in this town is recognizing this Bridge Guy video. And I didn't know where that video come from. I'm talking 3-4 years ago when it first came out. My first thought was somebody in that town's got to recognize this person. Unless it's a random passer through guy, got lucky and found some victims. That's not what happened, obviously. He did live there. He did work there. He was right there among them the entire time, and they just let that happen. Great investigation, guys.
Yeah, and
Doug
he didn't
Carter.
just
You
go
need to
to
retire.
work. Yeah, he didn't go to work and go home and live in his basement or live in his
No, he was
office at
normal
home. He
and
went
carried
to
on.
bars. Yeah, he went to bars. He and his wife went out to bars. They
Shit,
played pool.
the CVS was right there by the police department, just down the street. It was across from where Kelsey worked. Nobody ever called a tip in that possibly this could be the guy. I'm not sure, but maybe. Not one tip ever came in like that. So therefore, they allowed, in their eyes, a killer to walk among them for 5 solid years in their community. Great investigation again, guys. Excellent.
Best on the planet Earth. He literally said the best on the planet Earth.
Nah, I beg to differ, son. Sorry.
Well, everybody does. Everybody
yeah.
does.
Yep.
I'd bring in freaking detectives from Kathmandu to investigate this and do a better job.
We'd have done a better job. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, we tried. We
Well, we did.
They told us we couldn't put up side-by-side composites of Bridge
Well,
Guy
apparently, some of the defense investigators were looking straight at YouTube for information.
They were. Yes, they were.
No, they literally were, not just on the prosecution side.
All right. Are we only 2.5 minutes into this press conference?
Oh, shit. We're just ripping Doug apart over here. We should have renamed the show, change your title.
Right.
The roasting of Doug Carter. Oh my God.
I want to know who the guy in the background is, though. He looks so familiar.
Well, you know what I think, but I don't know.
We're going to have to do facial recognition software.
Oh, we could put them side by side and see if they merge into one.
Steps would be, my job is to support them, and I stand by those decisions, every single one of them.
Okay, if your guys are the best detectives on the planet Earth, why do you have to state that your job is to stand beside them, every single one of them, in all of their decisions? If they're the best on the planet Earth, of course you're going to stand by them. Why do you have to state that? The superlatives are they're disgusting is what they are. They're nauseating. The superlatives in this press conference are nauseating.
Yeah.
The gag order. We lived by that.
No, you didn't, dude. You went on TV every time you could. You went and you held interviews with the media all the time. Jack Fox and I did a review of your media interview with, I think it was Wish or it was WTHR, one of the indie stations. He was on TV all the time. How is that living by the gag order?
Exactly.
Dude, I don't believe this guy for a second. Now here's my thing. I know they're like Bob says, here's the thing all the time. Bob Munda says, here's the thing all the time. Here's my thing in this. I have so much respect for law enforcement officials that do their job properly and are honest with the public and are ethical. And one of my idols is somebody who is the county or the town sheriff or the town cop in the town that I lived in when I was a kid. And he actually reminds me a lot of Doug Carter in his physical appearance. He was a tall guy. He was very grim and he was very stern. But I would put him up against Doug Carter every day of the week and twice on Sunday, because everything that came out of his mouth was honesty and enforcing the law and obeying the law. And I got sideways with it a couple of times when I was a kid, I'm not going to lie. But he would always just enforce it to the best of his ability. But he was there for the people. He was just 100% there for the people of our little town that I lived in. And this Doug Carter gives me the opposite vibes, that he's there for himself. He likes being in the limelight. He likes being in the spotlight. He likes being interviewed by TV personnel and media. And he likes covering up for investigations that don't meet the standard. We'll just say it that way. Is that Kathy Shank down to the lower left?
Yes, it is. Miss, I can't keep my eyes open when I talk. Yes, that's her standing back there.
She looks a lot older in person.
Mhm.
Like I thought she was going to fall down the stairs. Like literally she stumbled over to the first stair and there was somebody that was next to her that like grabbed her arm and helped her from falling down. But I almost had to catch her to keep her from falling down the stairs.
He lived by that gag order.
No, you didn't. No,
The
you
defense
didn't.
did not.
Really? How so?
And it cost a human life. Anybody that shares those photographs of those two little girls should be held accountable, whether they're in the public sphere, whether they're emailed to you, whether you found them in a place you didn't want them to see. I hope that if you ever see them, you'll picture your own children as Abby and Libby.
What? What kind of a statement is that?
That's Doug Carter's bullshit.
But if you ever see the pictures of Abby and Libby shared with you, I hope you picture your own children. That's sick.
I know.
It's sick.
They're terrified that everybody's going to start, passing around those photos again. They've been out there for a long time. And he's about to go into that, I think, here, but I think a lot of people do, like, okay, if you got investigator brain on, you're going to look at those for what they are, a crime scene photo. Are they fun to look at? Hell no. But I don't think a lot of people are out here looking at them just to be gawking at two deceased children in the woods. They're doing it for an investigative type purpose, to see for themselves what this scene looked like. And of course, we can all envision our child, that being our child.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't.
No, I mean, you would not like that. I mean, I'm not taking up for him. I think the way he is saying that is to try to get at people. They should feel horrible for looking at the crime scene photos and things like that.
Sick. That is
a sick
way to state that.
It really is. He doesn't have his way with words right now, does he?
I don't think he ever has them. And when he's making a word salad. Look at the dude over his left shoulder staring directly at the camera.
I know. I froze it
I
yesterday at some
need to
point when I
know.
was. I had
Yeah.
to take it off because I realized I had that on there. Like, oh, you know what? Your energy vibe. No, I can't. That's vibing
No.
right. No, stop looking at me.
That's dark energy right there. That is
Very dark.
energy staring right into the camera.
Yep. I picked up on that as well. I read energy
I'll
really
never
well, and I don't
forgive
like that dude's
I will
energy.
never, ever
Mm-mm.
forgive that. We lived by the gag order. Documents were released from the defense that drove a public narrative that many of you talked about.
He's something
Damn
else.
it, I wish I could-
He is so worried about social media. Why is he so worried about social media? Especially when we can't see the exhibits in trial. We have to be credentialed.
I could have responded, but I was not going to violate what Judge Gall said. So they were able to get these documents out there and create a public narrative that you and many others, many of you and many others believed around the globe.
You know what, Doug? The probable cause affidavit that is lame as fuck and shouldn't have been signed by Judge Diener and wouldn't have been if he had all the information from Investigator Liggett, who is now Sheriff Liggett at the time. That was the public narrative that came out first.
Yeah.
Richard Allen being arrested and that probable cause affidavit 30 days later, which actually wasn't soon enough, was the public narrative that came out first. So don't give us this shit about the defense releasing stuff that changed the public narrative. You guys had control of the public narrative from day one.
Yep. And I mean,
damn, Salty, what?
I know. It's crazy.
I'm all worked up over this. Like Doug Carter, I don't know why Doug Carter gets me all worked up like nobody else does.
Yeah, I've been watching the guy for so long. Nothing shocks me about him anymore. I just want to. It might be illegal to say what I want to do. Is it like that might be took as a threat, like throat punch or something? I don't know. Like, let me just flick you on the screen. That's not like a. I'm not trying to get in jail for threatening law enforcement.
And the dude over his left shoulder is glancing.
Yeah, I don't know what that dude is. I don't like him.
But I need to know who he
me.
is. I need to know who he is. And I know somebody knows who that guy is. I know somebody knows who he is. All right.
Baldwin and Rossi are responsible for that.
Oh, he's calling out. He's calling them out directly. Holy shit.
Yeah. The family effects, I think you'll see the words that were spoken by the folks that spoke today about their lives and how they've been forever changed, how they'll never be the same. And they said it in ways that were beautiful in some kind of a mysterious way.
No, dude, what?
Beautiful in some kind of mysterious way.
No, they're just beautiful in a caring family member's way. They were beautiful. Like missing those two teenage girls is just beautiful for beautiful's sake. Not in some mysterious way.
I know.
What is he smoking? What is he snorting?
Dude, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's good shit.
No, it's not. It's bad shit. He needs to stop.
Maybe he's smoking that spice stuff. He's smoking the fake weed. He smokes spice or something.
It's not beautiful in some mysterious way. The words that the family members spoke was beautiful in its own way, organically.
But that's not the first time he's used language like that, like mysterious and different words, and makes you go, dude, why do you pull those vocabulary words up? What dark side do you walk on, Doug Carter? Beautiful, mysterious, magic hands, man.
Just allow the family statements to be what they are. Just beautiful,
Exactly.
organically the way that they are.
Not some mysterious bullshit.
No, it's not mysterious. There's
No,
nothing
there's nothing
mysterious about it.
mysterious about it, right?
And they missed the girls, and
Yeah.
that's perfectly okay. And if you think that you found justice with Richard Allen's conviction, then that's awesome for you. It really is. Like they're in my mind, I can separate them. Can you separate them? Like justice for Richard Allen and justice for the families should be the same. And if the police investigation had been the way that it should have been, maybe we would arrive at both of them together. But I think we have arrived at one of them separately from the other.
Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep. You should write that.
Should I? Hey, this is going down in history on the replay. People will hear it. We got this.
But we have Doug Carter saying that the family's victim impact statements are mysterious. They're beautiful in a mysterious way. What the fuck, dude?
I know. There's no. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. He makes no damn sense.
No.
There's an attorney in Indianapolis by the name of Guy Relford. And I heard Guy on the radio after the verdict.
What is he doing listening to talk radio?
And what's it got to do with this case and what you're out here saying?
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
He's always coming out with his little metaphors. He's always done stuff like that.
Dude.
Driving the conversation.
A lot of hate mail came. Death threats came.
Hate mail and death threats.
To who?
To him, people on
I
the
heard
case.
Guy Relford say that day on the radio, and I called him 15 minutes after he said it. And after 40 years in this business, I never thought about the jury's perspective. But he said the only people that mattered in that court.
Did you just see that gulp that he did?
Yep. And you're going to tell me after 40 years on the job, you never once thought what a jury's perspective might be? That just hit you because of some guy on the radio said something?
You've never been the superintendent of a state police force that had a case that went to trial with a jury?
Right.
That's what he's saying. He's literally saying that. I never considered a jury before. Seriously, dude?
That's such a lie.
He is a fucking liar.
Yep.
Oh my.
Oh Lord, I got to take the
If
phone
anybody-
outside with me and feed this cat. He's hollering.
If anybody's still in chat, thank you for hanging around. This is a way longer live than I ever anticipated. But I hadn't watched this press conference before, and it's triggering me. So thank you for sticking through this triggering event, because it is. This guy is triggering me like you wouldn't believe.
Relford say that day on the radio, and I called him 15 minutes after he said it. And after 40 years in this business, I never thought about the jury's perspective.
After 40 years in this business, I never thought about the jury's perspective. What a load of horse shit.
I mean, that was the whole point of the gag order, not to, to sway the jury pool.
Right, yeah.
Come on, dude. Quit.
Yeah.
We're not that gullible, guy. We're not going to listen to everything you say and go, oh, wow. Lord help us.
He said the only people that mattered in that courtroom was the jury. And he went on to talk about, he's a very bright attorney. He went on to talk about what they can see.
Oh, he's a bright attorney because he's creating a point that you want to make in front of the press. That makes him bright.
Well, I wonder if he thinks that Bob Motta's a good defense attorney. I mean, come on. He's like, this is a bright attorney. He made me realize the jurors matter. Their perspective matters. Their perspective of your crappy video that you enhanced. I mean, come on.
That we can't, that you couldn't. They could see the defense. They could see the state. They could see the witnesses, feel the emotion, and they could see Richard Allen. I've never thought about that perspective because we have a singular view most times. You, me, it's human nature. Judge Gall was the keeper of the peace in that courtroom, but the people that mattered were those 12 jurors. And we have a system of justice that allows them to decide the fate of a human being. That's what our founders had established. And that's what they did. I hope you all understand that what you say and how you report matters more than you can ever possibly comprehend. This is an opportunity for us to all learn about what social media is and isn't, what we should do and what we shouldn't.
Wait, is that a threat? Is that a threat?
That's something, man.
That's pretty damn close to a threat. Like, not a direct threat of any direct action, but just be careful of how you social media people go about your business. I got to play that again.
And we have a system of justice that allows them to decide the fate of a human being. That's what our founders had established. And that's what they did. I hope you all understand that what you say and how you report matters more than you can ever possibly comprehend.
What you say and how you report matters. That's true. Okay, there's nothing threatening about that. So I can interpret it that way.
This is an opportunity for us to all learn about what social media is and isn't.
Oh, there we go. This is an opportunity to learn what social media is and isn't. This is huge. Like, people who haven't been reporting on this aspect of his press conference are missing out on a huge, huge opportunity to get into the mindset of law enforcement.
Yep.
And how it relates to social media and what it
Exactly.
thinks about social media.
And I've been saying this for a long time, being in true crime and social media, that the way it's almost like they need to develop a new way to communicate with social media. It's not going to work like it does with mainstream media. You know what I mean? The way you've done it for years no longer is working, in my opinion, and it needs to be handled a little differently. Even coming out and addressing some of the things that do come out, people are like, well, they don't owe us anything. They don't have to address it. You know, they don't. But it certainly would help clear up a lot of things in some of these cases. It just would, in my opinion.
But they do owe us. And after being boots on the ground in Delphi and boots on the ground in Maricopa, which are two totally different places and two totally different situations, and seeing the way that Maricopa handles it versus the way that Delphi and Carroll County handled it, and Judge Gull, it does matter. They do owe us, because mainstream media and social media are both media.
And I agree, especially when they come out and they ask for our help and ask us to spread the word and ask all these things of us, and then turn around and say, well, they don't owe you anything. I don't buy it. I agree with you.
Even if they don't ask for our help, we're there. We're part of the public. Like, we have something amendment right. I don't know. I can't remember if it's the 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th Amendment right to a public trial. And so there's an interpretation of what public trial means. And that's evolving into these trials should be broadcast so everybody can watch them on national, international media. We're not there yet. And I'm not saying we should be there yet, but eventually social media will play a huge part in that. And honestly, right now, social media plays a huge part in that. You have some smaller news organizations like Trial TV Live. I'm going to give them a plug right now because they have been in the courtroom for some really big hearings. But how do we all get there? Like, they can't be everywhere. Trial TV Live can't be everywhere. Joe Schmo Media can't be everywhere. Salty Sleuth can't be everywhere. So how do we all, network together so these cases that affect the public or even are just in the public opinion, like Sarah Boone, that doesn't affect that doesn't affect the public, but we got to watch that because it was broadcast live, but we didn't get to see any of Richard Allen's at all. So we had 16 to 20 to 24 different reporters from the public, including True Grit Crime and Yellow Jacket and a handful of others that are content creators sitting in that courtroom, and we all come with our own perspectives. So you have to sit and listen to us tell you what we saw in the courtroom instead of you seeing it for yourself. Is that a public trial? That's subject to interpretation, right? Like some people will say, yeah, that's a public trial. The public got in, 16 to 20 to 24 public members got into the courtroom. So that's a quote unquote public trial. But it's evolving, and we got to figure out what that means. Salty, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Something was going on I had to take care of real quick. I got my phone in my hand listening. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I'm going to play the rest of this Doug Carter conference. Okay. You can keep on taking care of what you were taking care of.
Isn't what we should do and what we shouldn't, and understand that their words have consequences to other human beings. I appreciated Guy's perspective, and it changed my view of the criminal proceeding. Richard Allen knew. We live in a country where people can hate. People can say things about other people. And that's okay. Hate me. It's okay.
Carter, I don't hate him at all. I don't hate him. But I also don't respect him. There's a difference. Like, hate is an emotion, like love is an emotion.
Yeah.
And a police officer shouldn't be hated or loved, either one. They should be either respected or not respected for how they do their job.
Exactly.
And
I don't have a lot of respect for him because he's come out and said too many things that just didn't make any sense. And the way he wants to act, it's like he wants to guilt people into thinking we're somehow bad for not falling in line with them. I don't like that.
Well, the social media thing shouldn't even be addressed. Like a professional law enforcement officer should, if they don't want to allow social media in to the proceedings, which they didn't allow any social media in, then they shouldn't even recognize them. They shouldn't even say, oh, social media just went off the deep end and had they had a whole bunch of nasty shit to say about the Indiana State Police and about me. No, dude, don't even acknowledge it. If you're a professional, you just let it go. It shouldn't even bother you.
Right. Because you got your biggest pushback from social media. That's your problem. It's like like the attorney said, it's time to be journalist, and the journalist didn't want to do that. I don't know if they thought this was just too much to get into and dive into or what. So they just left it up to social media to do it. And we did it, and so because your biggest pushback came from social media. So now you're going to act like they are just the bad guys in this situation.
Yeah. But that's exactly why social media is needed now. That's how our world has evolved, where in cases like this, mainstream media is not enough. Like there were times. So I met the Journal and Courier a reporter there standing in line at 4 o'clock in the morning outside the Carroll County Courthouse when it was 37 degrees outside. I was dressed a little warmer than he was. He was a little bit chilly. But after that day's hearing, I went to the website for the Lafayette Journal and Courier, and the summary article for that day's hearing was 45 words long. 45 words. I took 35 pages of notes. So mainstream media ain't cutting it, people.
No, they're not.
We need social media. We need people like me, and I'm not saying I'm the answer. I'm just saying people like me who will go stand in line at 3:30 in the morning, 36-degree weather for 4 hours to get inside the courthouse, whether it's in Carroll County or Maricopa County or in Florida, wherever the hearings are, wherever those hearings are in Florida. Florida has a lot of hearings. They have a lot of
Oh,
cases.
yeah.
But we need social media has to be a part of that because mainstream media isn't cutting it. They're not. All right. Should we finish this press conference? Here we go.
World
Okay.
we can. So hate me if you want to. The investigative collaboration is something.
Okay, is it just me or is the dude in the background have like a strip shaved off of his head on the left side there?
I see it.
He kind of has a mohawk, but
Mohawk looking. Yeah.
but he also has like an extra strip shaved off the left side of his head.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just cut down really super short and he's, balding on each side like Doug is there. I mean, you see. They got matching haircuts, man. Except Doug's is a little longer. That's all.
All right.
It's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made. But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it. I'll crawl across shards of hot glass for Jerry Holman.
Uh-oh. I can't hear. Joe, are you muted?
We got to go through this again. Yeah, I was muted.
I was like, I can't hear. Did I lose my hearing all of a sudden?
No. He gave me words. He gave me a word salad that I may need somebody like Jack Fox to break down because this is just insane. And I don't know if Jack's going to be willing to do it because we already did one on Doug, but this is up there with the other one.
Chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made.
There were mistakes made.
But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it.
There was never a mistake made when we knew it was wrong when we did it. What the fuck?
Did y'all know it was wrong when you lost your tip?
Who says that?
Right.
There was never
Doug
a
Carter.
mistake made that we knew what was wrong when we did it.
They didn't realize it was a mistake when they were doing it. They realized later. What?
Oh my gosh. That's mind-boggling.
Hey, Jen, welcome in.
Jack's definitely getting a copy of this video, and I'm gonna invite him on for another. He'll probably
A whole other
reject
show,
it.
right? Yep.
Yeah, he'll probably reject it because we've already done one. We turned like a 6-minute press conference or interview into a 1-hour live. But damn, I got to do that one more time because it just blows my mind. that the superintendent of the Indiana State Police says something like this: there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it. So tell me what mistakes you made that you thought were okay in the moment. Tell me. Damn.
For the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that.
Wait, no.
It's something that I'll remember for the rest of
He blows through this chronicleate, articulate. This is really fast speak right here. And I've watched Jack enough to know that I need to like take this very slowly. All right, we're going to settings, playback speed, 0.75. Let's see if we can pay attention to it this time.
rest of my life. Yeah, for the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it.
Did you catch that even at 0.75 speed? Chronicleate or articulate?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that? Is that even a word, chronicleate?
I don't think so. Not that I've ever heard.
The word salad gets even saladier. Like, we've got artichokes coming into this salad now. We've got like pickles and cucumbers, and we got some crazy shit coming into this word salad right now. Oh my gosh.
Or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. Yeah, for the rest of my life. There's no way we could possibly chronicle it or articulate it. Or...
What is that word he's saying there?
That's the Doug Carter made up word.
Chronicleate or articulate?
I think he just made it up on the fly
That
because he wasn't reading from his prepared notes.
right. Chronicleate or articulate. I think yeah, I'm definitely sending this to Jack and seeing if we can at least do like a half hour on it. Oh, good grief, Doug.
Or write about it or anything. There's no way we could ever do that. We are human beings, and there were mistakes made. But there was never a mistake made that we knew was wrong when we did it.
Yeah, Jack's got to analyze that for me, because that's got to be a huge indication of deception. There was never a mistake made that we knew was a mistake when we made it. Crying out loud, dude. You're digging yourself in deeper. But here's the thing about this case is the people that think that Richard Allen is guilty are happy with the jury verdict. And the jury verdict is what it is. And I believe in our justice system. I also believe that human beings are on juries and they can make mistakes. And maybe they did in this case. But there's nothing that I can do about it. There's nothing that you can do about it. But seeing somebody like Superintendent Doug Carter come out and make statements like this that are absolute garbage statements makes me a whole lot less confident in our police system and our law enforcement. It's just like the Austin thing. It's just like Austin, Texas. It feels like they're just trying to cover their ass. That's what it is. Cover your ass. There was never a mistake made that we knew was a mistake when we made it. Salty, did I lose you? Or am I in too deep? I think I may have lost Salty. She's there. She's muted. Salty, you're muted if you want to talk. If not, we'll let Doug Carter talk some more until he's done with this word salad.
Will crawl across shards of hot glass for Jerry Holman. Jerry Holman is not a liar.
Wow. How intense was that? Oh, well, crawl across shards of glass for Jerry Holman. Jerry Holman is not a liar. Why do you feel the need to express it that intensely? Why do you feel the need to express it that intensely?
Yeah, he's like really pushing it home, you know, like I don't know, this guy gives me a
But
headache.
if one of your investigators was a key witness and you believed in him and his integrity 100%, you would never go in front of cameras and say, "Oh, he's not a liar." I would crawl across shards of broken glass for him. He's not a liar. You wouldn't feel the need to do that if you really believed it, right?
Yeah.
This wears me out.
Jerry Holman gave the last 8 years of his life to something much greater than himself.
Wait, 8 years.
We fussed with each other throughout the course of this.
24,
In conclusion,
17.
we argued with each other.
That's 7.5 years.
I remember Toby and I had an argument right here in this other room in April of 19.
Why is it something to celebrate that you had an argument with the Carroll County Sheriff? Why?
As you should
I
expect
know.
us to.
I when he
There was
said
no
that, I
group thing.
was like, what is your point of saying all
We
this?
debated each other, as you should expect us to. But then the defense spins it into incompetence. It's ridiculous.
Why is he calling out the defense legal team for being incompetent? That's not
For
his
saying,
job. That's not his position.
well, I think wasn't he saying that people say they were incompetent because they had internal arguments? What were those internal arguments about? That's what I want to know. I want to know the bigger picture. I want the underlying, cut out all this drama bullshit. I want that underlying stuff. Why were you and the sheriff at odds to begin with? Over what? And why did y'all have an argument?
I remember Toby and I had an argument right here in this other room in April of 19.
See? What was that about?
Tony Liggett, that thing that happened with the FBI in 2019. There was something that happened in 2019.
Exactly.
How do we FOIA that? I really want to FOIA that.
I'm like, I need Doug Carter to come on and answer some questions. I'm willing to sit down and have a honest adult conversation. I'm not even joking. I don't got to cuss. I don't got to rant, rave. I can refrain from all of that. But I got a whole list of serious ass questions to ask that man.
I'm sure he'll take you right up on that.
Well, yeah, it's like WSU mom Kim did. That, you know, it is never going to happen. I can come out and talk a big talk, but don't ask me no questions. I won't tell you no lies.
As you should expect us to. There was no groupthink.
When somebody says something like that, and here I am traveling down Jack's road of linguistics, when somebody says there was no groupthink, that means there was groupthink. Like he's saying the opposite of the truth.
Yeah.
And the groupthink was, in my opinion, ISP in Carroll County said there's no Odinist ties. There's no Asa True ties. There's no Brad Weber. There's no Patrick Holder or Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, all those guys. Anyway, ISP and Carroll County were on the same page on that. FBI was not. FBI was still going down that path. So the groupthink was 2 out of the 3. So kind of when he says there was no groupthink, he's kind of being truthful, maybe.
We debated each other, as you should expect us to. But then
Were you really good at debating each other? Were you master debaters with each other? Yes, mentally, I'm still 15 years old, and I'll go there every time.
But then the defense spins it into incompetence. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous nonsense for Baldwin and Rozzi to have done that. And finally, most importantly, to the Delphi community and to the family of Abby and Libby. Words cannot possibly explain what we all feel. But what Nick McClelland did and the rest of the team that was associated with this, every single time it was about something other than themselves. It was about this community and that family. And we owe them a debt of gratitude that can never possibly be repaid. How about we start to heal now? How about we hit that reset button and understand that justice in this country was served? And if you don't like justice,
I'm actually down with this last part of the statement. I'm down with that about justice for Abby and Libby. And I know a lot of people are not fans of Nick McClelland, and I'm personally not, but if he thought that justice for Abby and Libby was to convict Richard Allen, then he did his job. But you can't hit the reset button, Mr. Carter. You can't hit the reset button when you stand up here and feed us a whole bunch of lines of bullshit. There's an amount of honesty that has to happen between a police department and the community. I don't think Delphi is getting that with ISP and Carroll County Sheriff's Office. I don't think that the city of Austin is getting it with Austin PD, with the deaths around Lady Bird Lake. I feel a lot more confident about that opinion in the Delphi case than I do in the Austin case, because I'm just an outlier in that. But you can't hit the reset button if you stand up there in a press conference and spew a bunch of word salad bullshit, which you just did. The last part of that was beautiful. If you had just said that, I would be like, dude, I'm down with that. But you didn't just say that. You said a whole bunch of word salad before that. So, all right. I'm done with this guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get off here in a second too. Hey, no, I didn't. Hang on, Robert. I'm on the line. I'm sorry, I was talking to my son. Yeah, I got a few things going on here at the house. I'm gonna have to get off here too for
All
the
right.
night. But this was good, and yeah, watching Doug just it brings up more questions, don't it?
Yeah,
And
it
emotions.
does. It does. And it incorporates a relationship of distrust between the community and law enforcement, and that's not okay. Got to have that trust. Thank you for coming on here with me, Salty. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, my son just came in and we were doing a few of the last minute Christmas stuff there. But yeah, all of this, even with the Lady Bird Lake stuff, thanks for bringing that, out and discussing that, because I think people are curious about that stuff as well. And then, of course, reviewing Doug. There's still a lot out there going on with Delphi, as we all know, with the, the appeals process that will come up. There's investigators out speaking now, and I'm just watching that play out as it is right now. Because I don't know a lot of things
That's
yet.
all
So
we
I'm
can
just
do.
kind of,
Yeah.
just
all we can
watching
do.
and taking it in. And sometimes you have to process some of the stuff you take in before you have anything to say about it, or at least I do. Sometimes I got things to say right away. Some of it I have to process for a few minutes, but it's going to be interesting.
That's why I appreciate my lives with you, because it does help me to process the stuff, and it does help me to say stuff live when I feel like saying it live, but it also helps me to, like, on a deeper level, process it. So thank you.
Yeah, and when you can bounce stuff off people, that's when really it helps. But it does me as well. So I do appreciate you holding this live tonight, and I appreciate you coming over last night on my channel and co-hosting with me there. We'll be doing more. And like I said, there's more things we do want to bring out and talk about. I don't want to be that kind of channel who just gets on one thing and stays there forever. That's not, my brain don't work like that. There's gaps in between cases, and there's other cases that I'm interested in following. So there'll be other things we're going to be bringing out as well. And as more comes out with Delphi and develops, of course, we'll come out and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
Guys,
right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all,
Appreciate
chat.
you for
You're such a
joining.
great little
Yes,
community.
they are. Our chat is great. Like, our chat is better than any other chat that I've seen. Like, they're so respectful and inquisitive is a good
Yeah.
word. Right?
Well, I think they feel like we do. There's a lot of information out there, and it's who do you believe? What do you believe? And who, talk about it and work through the things and figure out what's real and what isn't, and all those things that come along with it. So that's the kind of community I hope to cultivate, and I think we're getting there. So appreciate each and every one of you.
I do too. And if I don't see some of you, so we're going to do lives before Christmas, probably at least one, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I'll see.
what tomorrow is Monday. What Tuesday is Christmas Eve, right? Because on Christmas Eve, I have my kids were all here with me on Christmas Eve. I'll be around Christmas Eve night, but during the morning and most of the day, I'll be tied up with my family. But Christmas Day, I chill at home alone. The kids all go to their dads or whatever they go do, and I do my Christmas Eve. But yeah, maybe I'll be able to come live tomorrow at some point, Joe, if you want to. If not, maybe a little Christmas Eve live, just to say hi to everybody. But I know everybody gets busy right now, so
all right, sounds
we will
good.
see
And
how
if
it
we
works
don't see
out.
it till then, yep. If we don't see it till then, have a Merry Christmas and
Yeah,
Happy
Merry
New Year.
Christmas, everyone.